welcome to the Really Likable Geeks podcast. I'm Steve.
And I'm Stuart.
And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Andrew Caravella.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm excited to finally be a guest.
On the show.
It only took 20 seasons to get here.
It's been 4.
Okay.
But
well,
it feels like 20.
it does.
It's like we've been doing this for 4 years, and it definitely feel like I've been doing this for like 20 years.
Well, I'm glad I was somewhere on the list to be a guest.
You're just so busy all the time.
Well, we've been hit and miss with guests. We had.
Oh, you're talking about Epics?
Oh yeah, I didn't even write him in as a guest. Honestly,
fair enough,
because that was a shit episode.
That wasn't a good one.
And then the other one we had to call our friend Matt Naghetti from Chicago.
Oh yeah, we had a long distance caller one, and that did not go well.
It didn't work.
The guest was good, just the production was bad.
Matt's awesome.
Well, I live right down the street, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, so we went more.
What did you do?
This guest.
Oh, okay. Did you turn it on? Okay, neat. Cool. Joey's over here doing new production stuff. She's like, and you did a thing, and you're like, Joey over here learning things. So how you been, man?
I've been great, man. A lot of traveling, a lot of work.
Fair enough.
Life of a struggling artist.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure people don't know much about you that listen to our show. So why don't you give them a little bit?
They should, because we were on his show.
Yeah, we were on his
TV
TV show.
Fucking fans, you would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
You
mean,
fucks.
I used to be a local television personality in the area, but since then I've moved on to other things, NBC News, PBS, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I moonlight as a voiceover for Animated Times, which is basically a review. It's kind of like a Screen Rant or a Cinema Blend or a comic book resource where they do reviews,
But not shit.
Huh?
But not
shit.
No,
but it's good.
It's good quality stuff.
Okay.
It's good
Well,
quality stuff. But basically everything and anything that is DC and Marvel Universe, I do their reviews. So this year alone, like over 20 million views. Super excited about it. I know I finally went viral after all these years. Which
it's been a long time.
You've been there though.
I've been there the whole time.
Yeah. So yeah, voice actor, professional radio and television personality is basically what I do.
And you've done stuff for Disney before. A long time ago.
We don't talk about that though.
I just brought it up.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. One episode of Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, but that's ancient history, and I've moved on from that.
You've matured.
I've matured.
And you didn't come out a total douchebag or a drug addict.
No, not yet.
There's still time.
You don't really know where the career goes, so that could be 2020 for all we know. We don't know yet.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Far more important than any of those achievements, though, is that we are related.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was crazy to find out.
We didn't find out until you guys were actually doing a taping of my show on air.
Yeah.
That we were cousins, which was even more weirder. So, small world.
Yeah. The southern.
I like how the conversation happened too. You were like, "What? What?
It's
what?"
Because, it's because the like Southern California Indonesian community.
Yeah,
we're all related somehow.
What was great was Steve was trying to introduce us, and it was just like, "Hey, I just want to introduce you to." My co-host, and we're like, oh shit, blah blah, no, whoa, and then Steve was just there in awe, okay then, well,
it's just
went a way I wasn't expecting.
Smallest world ever, because I've known you for coming up on 9 years now?
Yeah,
something like that.
Remember our first
what
project?
What are the fucking odds that my other co-host is friends with the dude who you're related to?
I know, right?
If you know any Indonesians in California, we're probably
that
related.
is so. It's crazy.
Steve, do you remember the first project we did together? I came to you.
You and I did together?
Yeah, I came to you.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I don't.
Okay. Justin Bieber. Do you remember now?
Oh yeah. I shot a music video for him.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of the desert, he did
the cop showed up.
Yeah,
it was epic.
It was good.
It was epic.
You did that with that high school.
With a high school, and then my good friend Robert Blomker.
Good old Robert Blomker. I know Rob Blomker.
I know.
Yeah.
Still friends with Robert.
He was
today.
in my high school class.
Yeah, good guy. But no, that was probably our first project together. That was great.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a long.
So Steve was
time
dressed
ago.
up as Justin.
No, I was.
He was the director.
I was making the video.
Justin
I was
Bieber-
not in the video.
He wasn't actually in it.
You had like.
I played 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You double billed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There was a Corvette
There was a Corvette
Yeah.
convertible and my Mercedes at the time.
and the Mercedes. Yeah. Good times,
Dude,
man.
good times.
Good times.
Was it just like a parody, or
It was a parody.
It was a parody, and it was
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. So it was a parody to the song "Boyfriend," and in
I'm
that,
familiar with it.
yes, of course.
I'm sorry.
So in it, there's a scene where there's like all these awesome hot cars are like doing something, right?
Yeah.
Well, in our version, it's like the cream of the crop of the high desert cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So it was like
you had
Toyota Tercel.
you had your,
an old SL 300.
That was like an illusion scene. The actual scene with the cars was like the Plymouth minivan from the 90s, your
It was
93
Did it
Honda
have wood
Civic.
paneling though on
Huh?
the side? Did the Plymouth minivan have that wood paneling?
Yeah.
on the side.
Actually, I think it did.
It did.
Ah.
Yeah. So then I had a dance battle with a bunch of 9-year-olds.
Dude,
It was pretty
Rob
awesome.
got down.
Kick their ass.
No, I lose.
No.
That's the whole thing. I lose.
Yeah.
And then we have Rob Blomker, who's a bigger guy, and like the youngest.
He owns it.
The youngest girl who resembled Lady Gaga. We called her Baby Gaga. She actually gets on top of him, and like he has don't shake babies or something, because that was one of my mottos at the time, on his belly, and when you hit it, it like jiggles and stuff like that. And
It was funny.
Here you have Baby Gaga on top of him, like like they were like having a great time. No,
We were not. we were not on crack.
but
We were gonna start shooting, but then we decided to take some cactus and mushrooms we found.
Yeah. Oh, what's this called? Peyote? Oh, I never heard of that.
Ayahuasca.
and then the ice cream guy comes out of nowhere and got everyone ice cream.
Now it sounds like a drug deal. And then the Candyman came, and then
That was a good time, though.
It was really fun.
It was a really good
It was
time.
epic. Now, would we shoot something like that again?
Hell
Probably
no.
not.
Hell no. That video would not fly in today.
No, it
in today's
wouldn't.
market. Hell no.
It did what it had to for the time.
That was
It
funny.
was awesome.
That was fun.
It was.
That was one of our first projects.
Yeah.
We knew each other before that, though, but that was like one of our first projects together. That was a good
the
time.
first thing you ever directed?
What? No.
I didn't
Oh.
mean to offend you.
No, I thought you were like
Calm
sorry.
down.
No, I had shot. You knew because I was shooting music videos and I had shot a whole bunch
Right,
of short
and that's
films.
where I got the idea. Let me get Steve to shoot this. It's not his style, but I think I can convince him because he's a friend.
and it worked out.
And it worked out really well.
Yeah, because I had just before that I went up to Reno, and I shot a. It was a primo location for on Creepypasta. A guy found a story about a creature called the Rake, and he.
I'm familiar with this.
He invited. He like paid, and all the. That was the place. Yeah, I went to the hotel, and that's when like my phone rang, and there was like breathing and ghost shit on the other side. Like fuck that hotel. But that's when it happened. But anyways, yeah, I went up there and we shot. We shot.
There's big ghosts of dead hookers. And
It was bad.
Reno.
We went up there and we shot like trailers and all this shit like that for the Rake, and we were up there for like 2 weeks and all that. And then the guy that was like funding it and everything, like he paid all of us, but then he was like, after production and everything, he was like, man, I love it, it's so great, but fuck you guys, I don't want you guys working on it. Like it made no sense. So we were like, whatever. But I mean, we got paid, and then it was funny because the production never got done, and I had all the footage. So fuck you, dude. I guess I do still have it. He owns the rights to it, though. That's the problem.
We
Not
can
talking
watch
about
it.
distributing it.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
can watch it in your living room.
It was
private viewing.
It was really cool. It was really cool. But then, yeah,
You can put it on YouTube and not monetize it.
yeah, fair enough. But he, but yeah, I came back, and then yeah, right after that, when I was telling you, I just got back done shooting the film. That's when you had the idea and pitched it to me, and then I had just got done doing like a music video for like Chiodos and stuff like that, and a couple other bands too. So yeah, so he found out that I did video work, and he invited me out there, and I shot that for him.
It was epic.
It was pretty epic.
For the time.
The only thing, first thing I ever directed was a short horror film, and it was for a film festival in LA
I think you told me about this.
called. But no, I'm. I can't even remember. I can't even remember the name of the festival.
I remember
anymore.
you told me that you filmed it and you had somebody in it, and someone was like, "Really? I can see that." I don't remember, but yeah.
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 That was the very first thing I ever directed.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a script right now for a film I want to shoot. Because I'm friends with a guy who works at Cartoon Network. His name's Eric Lloyd Brown. He's actually a concept artist, and he works on shows like Ben 10, Johnny Quest, and all that kind of shit. I think it's Johnny Quest. But he's worked on like games like Destiny and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome dude. Big sci-fi buff. Huge sci-fi nerd.
So is this animated that you're working on? Or?
No, live action. Because he's a prop builder in Hollywood.
Okay.
Too. So he builds like, that's right. You guys came.
I met him.
Yeah, we're working on a sci-fi film together.
Tell him to give me back my dice.
Well, you know.
If you ever found him, I don't know if you ever found him. The lawnmower probably fucking found him.
I still do acting aside from voiceover.
I know.
So,
I know.
You know, if there's something in there,
It's a very dark, gritty story, sci-fi set in like the future dystopia, like Blade Runner kind of style.
I'm okay with that.
It's pretty sick. So,
Yeah.
the script is it's not Blade Runner, but it's that style. It's like that Neo Tokyo, like dark Neo Tokyo style. Like, but
I need to add angles to me because apparently I'm just too bright and uppity. So this is perfect for me.
Oh, it's very
you want this
very
to
dark.
you want this to be your Die Hard.
It's okay if I'm not murdering. Somebody can murder me. I'm okay with that.
The main character murks some motherfuckers.
But
in the show,
at least if I'm going to be murdered, at least give me that one epic line before I die. Whatever it is. I don't know what you have in mind for this, but I need an epic line before I am killed.
Yeah. But we're working on. Yeah, it's been a while since I've shot a film and directed and whatever, like all that stuff. So I'm working on a script right now with Eric, right now. So soon we're working on. We're looking at shooting later this year. But
cool.
he like just moved into a place and has like a whole production sound stage area that we
that
can
makes
do
it even
everything.
easier.
So yeah, so it's pretty exciting. So when that comes out, obviously we'll talk about it. But you work at PBS.
I do.
When
do they actually
this
need
was your
our
question
money?
that you were okay.
When the Mr. Rogers movie came out, did that do anything for PBS currently? Because like Mr. Rogers was solely on PBS.
I mean, anything that's like public media that comes out like in this form. Good example. Last year was the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street. So I mean, who bought up licenses?
That's HBO now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still PBS. Yeah.
I think they still own the rights, right?
It airs. It's Sesame Workshop still airs on PBS, but you can also watch on HBO as well.
Oh,
so but I mean, the licenses were all over the place. Geico used them. I believe there was a lip sync battle with Big Bird on that show. Lip sync battle.
Oh, speaking, he passed away.
The main guy, that did it for all those years, Carol Sweeney. But whenever you have nostalgia like that from like those shows that you grew up on, your parents grew up on, your grandparents made your parents grow up on, you start to see spikes in like your interaction, your engagement, and your attention. So yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a PBS production; it was Sony. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it did obviously spark some interest for our local PBS station. Mm-hmm. So we take advantage of that and jump on it. You'll occasionally see more Mr. Roger memes in the month of November than you will in other months because we're trying to amp up people to go see that.
Yeah, he is the shit.
He is
that
the
is
shit.
true.
Tom Hanks or Mr. Rogers?
Both.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, if the headline tomorrow was like Tom Hanks had like stabbed 10 people, I'd probably be like, they probably
justified.
They probably deserved it. I can't see Tom Hanks stabbing someone for no reason, and I would need no further evidence.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to go to the advanced LA screening. Originally, there was going to be a premiere in LA. I was working my magic to get into that, but
Mr. Rogers, the Mr. Rogers movie.
Yeah. So I work for PBS. I had to go. So
that's so cool.
Sony though decided they were going to do it back east, so they were just going to do an advanced screening in LA. It's very standard for them to do this kind of stuff when a new movie's coming out. So I got into that. So I got to see it a couple weeks prior to it coming out, and you get like a swag bag and all that other cool stuff, and it was great.
Was there a cardigan in every swag bag?
No,
That's a fucking
Or loafers?
Huge, that's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
To give everyone a cardigan
or
right?
penny loafers.
Yeah, or penny loafers.
So they gave me goat lotion, and the goat lotion was in a cardigan holder. So
That's awesome.
It was.
Goat lotion though? What is? Is it made out
Is
of
the lotion
goats?
made
Goat milk lotion.
That sounds
Oh,
disgusting.
I know what that is actually. Yeah.
And
It's lotion made out of goat milk.
and
It's
I got
good.
I got like this
It's good for you.
$85
Tasting or
It's good for you. Fuck, Stuart. It's good for you. It's a good product.
you said it's good and then you licked your lips. You're throwing me
did.
mixed messages.
I did not lick my lips.
I also got this $85 trolley tie, because
Oh, nice. That's
cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I probably won't sell, but at least the price tag came
I
on
would
it.
never
It
sell
shoulda-
that.
The swag bag should have been cardigan, penny loafers, and everyone gets a king hand puppet.
That'd have been tight.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't had a chance to see the movie yet. You saw it. Was it good?
Yeah. You couldn't find anyone else to play Mr. Rogers. It had to be Tom Hanks. If you were going to do this movie, it had to be Tom Hanks. Not one other actor could have pulled it off.
I tried thinking. I was like, there's those roles out there where it's like, you cast it perfectly. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing I think when I think of like Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing those roles ever. Jean-Luc Picard, like
Yeah, Deadpool is a
you
good
know,
example.
Patrick Stewart, like you can't.
Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, sir. Well, excuse me. Yeah, but and speaking of that, amongst all the things that you do,
Yeah.
you're a nerd.
I'm not a nerd.
You're a nerd.
I am a cool motherfucker.
You are a geek, dog. You
no,
are.
definitely not.
You're a
He
trekker.
said wearing his
Trekker is
his
not the
space
same
fucking
as being a
pants
geek.
and his
You're a
Batman
trekker. That's a
shoes.
geeky thing.
Trekkie is a geeky thing.
You're
I
a
am a
They're
trekker.
both geeky things.
They're
No.
both geek.
A
You like
Trekkie-
fine. You like Star Trek. You're
You're wearing
Let me switch my
space
leg.
pants.
That's because I
and
went raving the
Batman
other night.
shoes.
you're wearing
Batman's cool to wear on
You're
your shoes,
wearing-
and they're Converse.
Justice League shirt right now.
That's because
And that's the old school.
That's the old
Hanna-Barbera
school
one.
that's because I am on a nerd podcast.
What you
and
have
I have
you
to be festive.
but you owned the shirt prior to this.
This came out of wardrobe backstage.
There's no backstage
That's
wardrobe.
correct.
Oh, you don't wear
I said backstage wardrobe.
No, see the difference between a Trekker and a Trekkie is like a Trekkie would go to sleep in like Star Trek pajamas and then wake up and have breakfast at their dining room, which they have redecorated to be 10 forward. That's not a Trekker.
The fact that you just dropped 10 forward unironically, and very few people are going to get. Did you understand what that deep cut meant, 10
A
forward?
Trekker.
Yeah, Joey. Exactly.
A Trekker.
She didn't get that.
Wait
My
a second.
point.
I have to finish. A Trekker is someone who just has all the facts to all of, whatever the lore is. In this case, it's Star Trek. That's a Trekker.
So you're an uptight.
I'm not. I just know everything about Star Trek because I'm awesome like that.
Just so you know, 10 forward is like it was like a lounge deck on the show. It was like a when
Not
you
the
ate
show on the Enterprise.
on the Enterprise.
D.
Well, in the show,
Yeah.
it was like where
Not
you
just
ate.
any Enterprise.
Yeah.
Enterprise D.
'Cause-
Next Gen.
I don't want fucking Scott Bakula showing up.
Yeah, seriously, that's what 10 forward was. It was like where they went ate and
Hated
it's like a lounge and shit. So you got geeky qualities.
I am very well versed in Star Trek lore. If that's what
That
if that's what you mean.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So today we're gonna throw it back. A lot of our old listeners, we're gonna throw it back. Today we're going to debate which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars.
Okay. First off, hold on. Before we start this episode shouldn't even happen, and let me tell you why it shouldn't happen. Okay. Star Wars is in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, it's not even in the same galaxy as
And
Star Trek.
And a long time ago.
And
And
a
a
long
long time
time
ago. We don't even know how long ago. But it's in a completely different galaxy. So obviously you can't really compare it that much, and it sucks because you don't have transporters in Star Wars. That's all I'm saying.
We do have disintegration.
So does Star Trek.
We also
Star
have
Trek
carbonite.
Also has disintegration.
We also have carbonite, so that's cool. But we're going to compare and contrast. We're also going to talk about some stuff coming out for Star Trek that's fucking awesome.
Yes, it is.
Is it though?
It is.
It is awesome.
it?
Let's start there. The
I
new
have
show.
to drink my Pepsi.
We've had
Hashtag not a sponsor.
I was just thinking that.
post J.J. Abrams reboot. We've had
Okay, hold on. You're wrong already. It's not a reboot. It's the Kelvin timeline. It's an alternate reality.
I was dumbing it down.
Okay.
He's not going to let you.
For all
You can't
intents-
dumb it down because there's
all-
listeners that understand what we're talking about,
Fine.
and you're going to upset them.
let's say this. At one point in time, that was when I'm sorry. Now you're fucking me up.
Look what you've done.
talking.
When Kirk's father died,
Yeah.
saving the rest of the crew, and he saved Pike.
Okay.
He saved Pike.
You're talking. Just go on.
You're gonna be like this the whole time. He saved Pike in it from when, and I can't even remember the Romulan's name that Eric Bana played.
Okay.
Are you?
But no, continue. Get to the point.
This is the divergent.
These are minor
this is
details.
before J.J. Abrams reset the timeline.
Okay.
Now we're getting, I guess, more interest in Star Trek than prior to that.
I don't
felt like it
think-
was waning.
I don't think the
With a
Kelvin
lack-
timeline helped support Star Trek. I mean, okay. It helped keep the franchise afloat. It gave you something different to look at. They were able to cleverly write it in those 3 movies that came out here in the 2010s.
Which were awesome.
They're all right.
I like
They
them.
were of varying goodness.
I
the
actually-
last one with Idris Elba was, I could have not seen it.
But
There
you
was.
gotta
There were 3 of
remember,
them, yeah.
realistically, when Star Trek Enterprise with Scott Bakula ended,
That was terrible.
then it was like 4 or 5 years later, they're like, we're going to do a movie of Star Trek. Oh, cool. Everyone's excited. Well, it's going to be from the beginning all over again. And it's like, do we really have to do this all over again? Seriously? Because Discovery did the whole thing when they wanted to do a prequel also, but that ended up becoming amazing. But we'll get into that later. When they decided to reboot with all these new Star Treks and then make a Kelvin timeline, okay, cool, kept it afloat for a little while. The fact that they were able to make us understand it's an alternate universe instead of a reboot, okay, we'll go with that, whatever. This new Star Trek Picard is really where all Star Trek fans wanted it to go after Star Trek Voyager ended back in the late 90s. They were like, what happens after that? That's where they wanted the story to go forward.
Well, we've had in the movies, we've seen what happened to Janeway after Voyager ended.
Right, she became an admiral and stuff like that. But after Star Trek First Contact with the next gen crew, yeah, Nemesis or Insurrection, then Nemesis, it didn't really do well. It actually tanked. People wanted to see everything after that.
The one good thing about Nemesis was seeing fucking Venom play young Picard. Who played the new Venom?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, thank you. Tom Hardy playing the young Picard was the best thing about that movie. Everything else about that whole storyline is just forgettable at
Well,
best.
I mean, Riker getting finally command of his own ship, but you don't even see that. That's just like an afterthought.
Yeah.
But everyone wanted to see what happened after Voyager and then that particular part that they decided to write into Star Trek Life. And they never did that. They went to before the original series with Scott Bakula. And then when they decided that didn't work after 4 seasons, they decided to do before or after that, but before the original series and create Discovery.
Did you like Voyager?
Loved Voyager.
Okay.
I-
Just curious.
I like-
I know some people that are like mixed feelings on
Loved
Voyager.
Voyager.
I liked Voyager. I think Deep Space Nine was a far better show.
I think
I like
Deep
Deep
Space
Space
Nine was lame.
Wow.
You're literally stuck in the same location of the galaxy for the whole flippin' show. I mean, occasionally they took the wormhole and stuff, but for the most part, it takes place on that space station that stays stationary. That sucks.
Well, the universe is ever expanding, so it wasn't station.
It was lame.
You want to be the
Space is a vacuum.
Pieces of vacuum.
I like Deep Space Nine. I thought it was a good
I
show.
thought they brought in the
It's no Babylon
the
5,
thing-
but it's good.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
I like Babylon 5. Fuck out of here. Thank you.
Why?
Yeah, that was.
Wait.
Fuck you, why? Babylon 5 was awesome.
Not a part of the show today. We got to stay on here. Different universe. Okay.
The one thing that I always
Space
liked
is ever expanding.
about Deep Space Nine was they just had such a huge cast of characters that any episode could be like literally about anything.
They had a couple good episodes. That's
I didn't
correct.
like any of the episodes where they focused on Quark
Yeah.
because I don't like Ferengi as a race. It just seems like a dumb race.
It's very racist, man.
I've heard that argument, but like every time anyone, they look like people say they're like a racist allegory for Jews because they're miserly. I never thought that.
Oh, you mean like the goblins in Harry Potter?
Yeah, because now people are saying that the fucking Gringotts goblins are like J.K. Rowling being anti-Semitic. So like, I feel like people just.
You said it.
I feel like people just
like, I
throw
can
that
see
out
it.
there because it's like a safe accusation to
That's
make
funny.
of racism. No one's really gonna push back too hard on it.
Nobody cares about
Nobody really can.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, it's
I don't know. Voyager always felt like just one long bottle episode.
well. What's your favorite Star Trek then?
God, it's tough. I like Voyager and Next Gen.
Next gen.
Next Gen.
Next Gen's
dude.
cool because they had other elements of Starfleet that they could stick in there. So you'd always have these special guest stars. You know, Voyager was kind of like,
Bottle episode.
who's that guest star?
Yeah.
You know
But
they're
you know-
not going to be in the next
Yeah,
episode.
they're not gonna. And here's the thing too: the crew originally was like 160, I think, give or take, maybe 151. Like there was way too many deaths for them to get home with the majority of
For
the
like-
crew
Yeah,
left.
yeah, with
to
their crew.
still be like
That
able,
that ship's big, but ain't that fucking big.
It's not that big. Voyager was a small science
Yeah.
vessel.
It's not that big.
It's not.
That's a
It
lot
was
of
like-
people.
Well, it
I
wasn't
think-
science; it was Intrepid class. It was.
But I'm
new.
saying its purpose was scientific research.
Yeah.
Originally.
for the most part, yes.
Well, did you like the OG Star Trek then?
No, I'm
Oh.
not a fan of the original series.
So when did you start watching
I
Star
have
Trek?
respect for the nostalgia and how it came about and the creation, but I'm not a fan of the original series.
So when did you start watching
Doesn't
Star Trek?
age well.
When did you start
Next
watching?
Gen.
You started watching Next Gen, and then you went back and watched the originals.
Well, okay, the movies with the original series cast were okay,
yeah.
but I really got into it when Next Generation came about. I thought it was more innovative.
Okay, but you did eventually go back and watch the OG ones, right?
I mean, I've seen them. I'm not a fan of them. I don't care for them to that. They're too dramatic.
Even though
Some people love that stuff because, let's be honest, when you strip it down to the bare bones, Star Trek is Shakespeare in space. That's all it ever was to begin with.
fair enough.
And as far as the Shakespeare element goes, that is all over the original series as far as the drama goes. Too much for me, though.
It's funny.
But what
because-
about the storyline though? Like not just like how the acting and everything's
There's
played
a
out,
reason why it
but,
ended
like,
after
the
3
story.
seasons. Too quirky.
Fair enough. But was it the original Batman also kind of quirky?
Well, that's the Bright Knight. That era is very quirky. That's correct.
Fair
That's
enough.
that
Fair
Silver
enough.
Age
Fair enough.
shit.
yeah.
But I mean, even Shatner himself has said in interviews that he had just come from doing stage. He had done some public broadcast, theatrical productions. He had done like a couple episodes of Twilight Zone, but his original background was in theater, and
So was Patrick Stewart's.
that's true, but they're two very different eras of theater and television. So when Shatner has always claimed that his overacting was to distract from how bad everything looked. Like the zippers on the back of the Monster of the Week, like the props being shitty looking, you know. And so that was always his like, why can't we go back? You know what I mean? Like, so
That was pretty good, man.
Shatner's not hard. You pause.
You just have
more
a
than
stroke. It's fine.
Yeah, you pause more than you would if you were trying to do walk-in. Walk-in is you pause when you don't think you should.
Yeah, pretty
going
much.
To the store, Andrew, and I gotta add a question at the end. End your sentence with a question. You know who does the best Shatner and walk-in is and now I can't think of his name. It
Look
just
at you.
completely fucking.
Can't believe you've
left me.
done this.
It just completely fucking.
It's like
left
the
me.
12th time tonight.
I know. I gotta drink more. Or Kevin Pollak.
Okay.
Do you know?
Oh,
what I'm
yeah,
talking-
I've seen. Okay, yeah.
I think Jim Fallon does pretty good impressions of him too.
When he's sober.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. So it's safe to
Jumped
say
around
that
there.
you're pretty well rounded in your Star Trek knowledge.
Yeah.
The question is how well rounded are you in Star Wars?
I know
Because
enough.
you're about to go to fucking war with me.
I mean, Star Wars it's different. I've never. When people get both confused, I'm like, okay, that's just because you're not an idiot. You just don't understand.
Exactly.
But in my head, I think idiot. But they just don't understand. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, Star Wars is so dramatically different than
It is.
Star Trek.
It is.
It's the only things that they really have in common are both are in space.
Yeah.
That's it.
One's an opera.
They're
One's an
fundamentally-
opera. Star Wars is an opera. It's a space opera.
I would say
And then Star Trek is Shakespeare. You know.
I would say they fundamentally differ in that Star Wars has always been at its heart a hero's journey, like a myth, like bringing a myth into a different setting.
Yes.
Whereas Star Trek is all about discovery. You know, it's
They had a whole show based on that.
boldly going where no one's gone before. It's more of a callback.
They
to
found a lot.
previous generations, explorers. You know, for good or bad, Columbus, Montezuma. You know, people going out there like, oh, where does the map end?
Star Trek-
and trying to fill in those lines.
Star Trek is Roddenberry's vision of what the world could be like if we all came together. And then there's all the drama and, you know, fighting and bickering that's just, you know, razzle dazzle glitter around it and stuff. But if we all came together and accepted each other in a peaceful setting, Star Wars isn't like that. There's no like, if the world could be like this message, it's not. I mean, that alone is different. You know, there were parallelisms Roddenberry purposely did for the characters and stuff like that. I think the Klingons were supposed to be like representative of like the Russians back in the day, if memory serves me correctly. I think the Romulans were supposed to...
No, you're wrong. No,
I think the Romulans were supposed to represent... I'm going to get this wrong. Was it the Chinese? I can't remember, but they were supposed
you fucking racist. No, just kidding.
They were supposed to represent people of different nations within the world and the idea of trying to create some form of unity. And it also reflected dramatically what we're doing in our own world and how we can do things differently. That's completely different than anything you see in Star Wars at all.
Fair enough. I have no... I'm not like saying he's wrong. He's right.
No,
they're
I mean,
two fundamentally different shows, though.
Exactly.
That are depictions of two completely different things. So you can compare and contrast them, but I mean, just because Star Wars doesn't have anything like that doesn't mean that it doesn't work.
Oh,
you
right.
know?
Yeah, I mean, it works just differently.
Yeah, it just works differently. Star Trek, I will give Star Trek a lot of credit as they do pretty well with their continuity, with their storylines, keeping like making sure that everything flows right. Like this makes sense because of this, and they push forward. There's, of course, not everyone's perfect, but fucking Star Wars, dude, like has that issue a lot where they don't follow their own canon and continuity.
Well,
and that
when
irritates
you go
the fuck out
from
of me.
Lucasfilms to the Disney company,
Yeah,
you're
but the
bound
thing,
to get some things wrong.
Well, the other problem is that Disney didn't.
you continue.
Give a
I'll be
shit.
right back, really quick. By the way, I gotta go bathroom real quick.
During the middle of the show, I have a problem. I can see that.
The problem with continuity and making the jump was that Disney didn't give a shit. They wanted to do. They wrote. It seems like, and this is what happened recently with the Watchmen TV show. It seems like they had a script, and then they just shoehorned it in to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
And just used it as a backdrop.
I can
'Cause
see that.
I don't know if you've watched the new Watchmen.
I haven't.
TV. Okay, don't.
Okay,
It's
well,
a huge waste of time.
okay.
I mean, if you are a glutton for punishment, feel free. But
Okay.
the show was originally conceived of and written, the pilot, as something completely not Watchmen. And then because HBO had acquired the rights, they're like, oh, well, let's just put it in the Watchmen universe. And it's a continuation. Damon Lindelof, how did he put it? It's a remix, reboot, continuation.
Oh, it's horrible.
I know. It's incredibly stupid. So it's tough because Star Wars has had a lot of hits and misses, and especially in like the past 5 years, there have been things that the entire fandom has liked. Rogue One, I think Star Wars fans were pretty much universally agreed that Rogue One was
One
a good
character
movie.
doesn't make an entire show, Joey. Sorry.
As far as the numbered movies, it's been very split. It's been
pretty split down. Like
Yeah.
See, and I
Close.
haven't seen the last one yet.
well, just going 7 and 8. Like a lot of
Look.
people were like, "Well, 7's good," but the major complaint that I continually heard was it's too much like 4, A New Hope, the original.
well,
the storyline's
isn't the
too much like it.
parallelism supposed to be there because of the girl?
That's what we thought. That's what I assumed. I was giving Disney and J.J. Abrams and the entire, Star Wars fucking crew the benefit of the doubt.
It's kind of like Luke became Obi-Wan.
But then he fucking did
But he didn't.
in 8.
Well, obviously he can't be identical to him.
but he didn't even become. That was the.
He
problem
wasn't
with-
even a fucking
that was-
allegory.
It
that
was
the
the
problem- that was
idea
the
that he
problem
was
with
just like
8.
this nomad, just out
fucking
there
stupid.
that had
So-
issues that
yeah,
he was dealing
he,
with.
He just bitched.
But
They
he
changed
shouldn't be like
No,
that.
they changed Luke from the hero to like a middle-aged crisis bitch.
Okay, but
And
how
that was
did
why everyone
how did
hated
episode 6 end?
With him triumphant and like moving forward, like putting the past behind him.
So
Like
you
seeing his father at rest.
so you wholeheartedly believed that by episode 7 he was still going to be this hunky dory, everything.
No, I didn't want him
good
to be.
go.
No. I'm not saying he shouldn't have had character arc and development over those intervening years. I just don't see how you go from the bright-eyed, hopeful, and then succeeding in, completing your hero's journey. Like the Joseph Campbell like hero's arc. Like you've completed that. Okay, what do you do from there? Okay, well then he's going to continue that cycle. He's going to take mentors. He's going to become the mentor to the new generation.
but okay.
But then somewhere in between, he got into his head like, oh, well, I got to kill my nephew.
It doesn't make sense.
How does that make sense?
Doesn't make any fucking
How does
sense.
everything we know about that character established in the original trilogy go from that to, well, better kill my nephew
well,
in his sleep?
when in Rome.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean?
Okay,
it's just,
well,
it's not.
So the new Star Trek Picard is supposed to pick up right after Nemesis ended, okay? And the idea is, where are we, 20, 30 years later? I think it's like 30 years later. Anyways, like all this crazy shit's happened, according to the books or the graphic novels, whatever you want to call them. Picard became an admiral. Crazy shit happened. It appears, according to the teasers and the trailers, Starfleet got a certain way. He got out of Starfleet because they got a certain way. Things are real bad now. A whole planet blew up. So he has this darkness now to him going forward. And we don't even know everything that has happened yet. I imagine by the first episode, we'll know more about what has happened in that time frame. So things got darker for Picard.
What I was understanding from the things I've read is that he, as an admiral, was put in charge of
The evacuation of
Romulus.
Yes.
And because it failed so horribly when Spock couldn't fly a ship correctly, that kind of led him to retire and just kind of be like.
But we don't know specifically until it actually comes out. But it appears, I think there's a lot more that
They're
has
merging
happened.
Next Generation with the Kelvin timeline, trying to like.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to connect it right here,
Yeah.
which is fine because I think there was something that I saw where they show Spock's ship, and that's kind of like the tie-in, like, oh, that's where he went back in time and he did the movie.
Here's the other thing is that the continuity is kind of weird because it's not. No one can tell me if it's an alternate timeline because they've never really made it.
Supposedly, it's not an alternate timeline. This is there's only two
So then-
timelines. This is the original timeline.
So then he's
Prime.
So then he's still from was it Insurrection where he meets Kirk, or is that
So, no, that was Generations.
okay? So it's still the same. That didn't
yes.
change. He met Kirk.
The
in
only
the ribbon.
reason the Kelvin timeline happened is because Spock went back in time.
Yeah.
That's what.
But it
did
didn't change anything about the prime. Let's just call the Picard meets Kirk in the ribbon prime timeline.
That is yes. And what's
J.J.
happening now is in
Abrams
prime.
alter.
It's the minute Spock appears. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So then none of the J.J. Abrams movies actually affect or matter
what we're going to see in Picard
in the TV show.
You are correct.
Okay.
You are correct.
That's what-
fucking lame.
But that's what I was saying,
fucking
because you
lame.
brought up continuity, and there is none, because none of those movies are relevant to the show.
Well, isn't it also like for continuity's sake? You saw the movie, right?
Which one?
The first Star Trek movie, the new three that just
the
came out.
JJs.
The JJs.
Yes.
That's not how fucking Captain Kirk becomes captain. In the movie,
it's
he's
kinda
not.
shady.
He's not like a bad boy that becomes that.
Because
like
his dad
that-
didn't
in
die
the original series.
timeline,
In like the
prime
fucking
timeline.
second episode,
Well, you don't see
he
him.
just
You don't see him. The movies, the JJ movies, give you a little more background than the original series.
It's still okay. Let's say his background was that he's like a bad boy, gritty guy, whatever the fuck.
He did.
Let's say
cheat
that,
on the test.
but that's not how he was. He became fucking captain in the second episode of the original series. He becomes captain, but he didn't become captain because of how it was depicted in the in the movie.
He takes over after Pike has been like captain of the Enterprise for a while.
Yeah. So
So-
the other thing, well, in both timelines, he takes over because Pike is injured. That's
right.
true.
That's true.
The only difference between the Prime timeline and the JJ's is that in the Prime timeline, Kirk's dad doesn't die. Therefore, he's there to guide Kirk, and Kirk joined Starfleet a lot earlier than he does in the JJ one.
Right. For continuity's sake, that's not fucking accurate.
Am I wrong?
But
Because-
going back to
but
Prime, because that's really where we want to go with this.
In both timelines, though, he does cheat on the Kobayashi Maru.
It's hard to say.
No, I mean, originally in the original timeline, he does.
Wait. What did you say?
He cheats on the Kobayashi Maru in both timelines.
Okay, yeah.
His test at Starfleet Academy, the unpassable test that
Yes.
he reprograms the computer. The only difference is in the JJ ones, it's actually Spock who's overseeing the test because of what happened to the Vulcan homeworld.
Well, I mean, that could be more of an artsy thing, and that could just be foreshadowing to show that this is not the same timeline.
I always thought it was to show us that, like, oh, well, even though he grew up without a father and is, like, a little more rough around the edges, it's still the same Kirk who's going to cheat the test and beat the odds. You know what I mean? That was kind of how I saw it.
Okay. Well, okay, so going back to after Nemesis, and then all this crazy stuff happened, now we're at Picard. Okay? Things are darker. Going back to Star Wars, Episode 6 ends, everything's great. Going to Episode 7, Luke's life is dark now. I think that's believable.
I think you have to show us why. Picard's already telling us why.
Right, there will be...
There
will
was
be more,
nothing in Episode 7 that would tell us
Okay.
why Luke would flip.
So with...
Opposite of what he was.
But with Star Wars, are there like Star Trek where there's graphic novels that
There
are...
There's a billion fucking books.
So
and they
is there an
shit on
in-between?
all of them.
So,
yeah.
So is there an
There's a
in-between between
million.
Episode 6 and Episode 7?
And
Dude.
there were.
Yes.
So what does it say about Luke Skywalker
That
then?
he founded the new Jedi Order.
Yeah, he founded the new fucking order of Jedi.
Then
That-
what happened?
That he met Mara Jade. He had a kid. Ben Skywalker is
Skywalker.
actually his son with Mara Jade. And then Han and Leia have the twins Jason and Jaina, and they also have another son.
Now, just like with
Anakin.
like Batman and other DC comics, have there been other authors of the time that told a different story between Episode 6 and Episode 7?
Yeah, but just because you do that doesn't mean that it's a canon storyline, though.
prior to the
So what
the
is
movies,
canon then? What you just said?
Yes, what I've just said is
Okay.
canon.
That's canon.
That was, and then Disney was like, "The fuck all this," and said we're doing our own thing. And instead of it called, because it was originally the books and comics for Star Wars were called the Extended Universe,
Right.
And we got to see a bunch of cool characters. There was the Yuzon Vong. There's tons of material. The Emperor they stole shit. I'm trying not to spoil it for you.
It's okay.
They
Do I need to go like this?
No.
while you're
No,
talking to
because it's
me?
important for you to hear.
They stole a storyline from the extended universe, and they made a shitty version of it, and that's Episode 9.
It doesn't make sense at all.
It doesn't make any sense.
We've talked about this on the podcast, for example. You know that Emperor Palpatine's in the movie.
Yes.
For example.
Okay.
That's a big fucking deal for two reasons. One, Palpatine's one of, if not the most powerful force-wielding being ever.
But you
Next
said they
to
explain. Wait, they don't explain why he's in it.
they
No,
don't
they
fucking
do not
explain why.
explain.
So all that tells me is, assuming that they do things right, because that's a big deal, there may be something else coming, a production of some kind in the future that will tie up that loose end.
Doesn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. They would not be able to do that because if they made like a thing later on the line, then they're just like rewriting. They're literally rewriting Star Wars.
They've already
but you could, here's why. In Star Wars, what they like to do is they like to say, we made you a story that's canon based off of the canon, but the story that they made is way off base than what the fucking canon says. So don't tell them, like, they like to say, hey, this movie's for people who care about the canon. Then you watch it and you're like, well, that's not right.
Did you ever?
It's like you didn't read the fucking canon.
Try and put this in Star Trek content. Did you ever play any? There was a very specific game I'm going to reference. It's called Star Trek Red Alert. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do.
It was the first-person shooter where it was on Voyager.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Do you remember?
But it's not technically canon. It's a video game.
And that's why. And that was my point. Do you remember you had a bunch of different guns, right?
Uh-huh.
And do you remember? You probably don't. This is very specific. They had an in-universe explanation for how you were carrying around like 20 different guns.
Okay.
And what they said was that on your belt, you had a mini transporter. And every gun that you weren't holding in your hand was stored in the transporter pattern buffer. So it was just a constant flux of being transported.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
And then as you needed it, you were able to pull it out of the buffer, and it would actually, when you switch weapons, it would make the little transporter sound. Nowhere in any other Star Trek show, movie, whatever, do they make reference to that.
Okay.
Right? Because that would be a huge thing. Like, we no longer need, like, these big-ass transport ships. We can just store shit in a pattern buffer for the transporter, and I can have like a little fucking transport ship,
Right.
Move like, 1 million pounds of dilithium crystals.
Okay.
So that's kind of, they did that tiny thing, except for the whole fucking movie. They took things that were deeply ingrained in the canon.
Heavily ingrained in the
Anakin
canon.
is the Jesus allegory. He was born, from
Careful.
his mom. This isn't even in the movie. This is in their shitty new books.
I understand, but
that was originally what was established. Like,
Okay.
Anakin's mom didn't.
you
have
saw
sex
Star
with
Wars
the kid.
Episode 1, right?
Yes.
She said there was no father.
The conversation that
he
Shmi
had
has
no father.
with Qui-Gon is that there was no father, that she raised him, she gave birth, blah 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 blah. Qui-Gon then assumes that he's a Force-born child, and that's when the fucking midichlorian stupid thing came out.
He's
he's
an amalgamation of the Force concentrated into a person. He's the chosen one. Blah 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 blah. The new books shit on all of that. They shit on their own canon from the movies.
Yeah.
So then who's Anakin's dad in the books?
Palpatine.
Okay.
That makes no sense.
Gotcha.
It makes no fucking sense.
So instead of it being like a Jesus allegory and like, because the idea behind like Anakin being Jesus but then falling is
Wait, do I learn that in episode 9?
no.
Okay.
It's from one of their shitty books that they churned
okay.
out. But the idea was like, the parable of Jesus in the desert for 40 days, and he's constantly being like, tested by the idea was that
you remember Jesus?
you remember that
Jesus.
from the Bible.
You remember when he was on the pillar and he jumped off, except he didn't, and he said, "Strike your foot," and he's like, "No."
Anakin was like, "What if he took that deal?"
Remember the bread? I did this last episode.
So that was the idea.
And the rocks.
Now there's none of that. Now there's none of that. Any of this like allegory or metaphor, like this bigger.
So
concept.
I mean, did Disney say? Obviously there was negative reviews. So because I haven't been up to date with it, so I don't know.
So in an interview in November, Kathleen Kennedy, she's the head of Star Wars.
We talked about her. Yes.
She said it's hard to make Star Wars movies because there isn't like comic books or 800-page novels that we can draw ideas from.
But there is, right?
Yeah.
She's a fucking moron.
Yeah.
So did anyone tweet her?
Yes, everyone. Everyone's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Did she release a response?
She's on her way out.
She's just dumb.
She's getting fired.
She's just dumb.
She's been at nothing. Every time something is announced for Star Wars, it's not her, it's Kevin Feige, who's the actual head.
You want to know how I know for a fact, that there are complete possible ways to create good canon Star Wars products. One, The Mandalorian is fantastic.
I'm a huge Mandalorian fan.
I have issues with The Mandalorian, but I love The Mandalorian.
Well, okay, so what are your issues? Because
he doesn't like Baby Yoda.
No, that's not even it. I never said that. I never said it in like Baby Yoda.
It takes place
put words in my
30
mouth.
years after everything in Episode 9 is done, right?
No.
How far in the
It's
future?
in between 6 and 7.
It's between episode 6 and 7.
I'm on 30 for some reason.
I don't even care about that.
Okay, so what is it that you have issues with? Because technically, this is as far in the story as we go up to this point.
I know. Here's what where my issues lie with the show. The character development and everything's fantastic. The characters are awesome. Okay. I don't fucking hate Baby Yoda. I don't know where you got that idea. I don't put words in my mouth.
But if you don't call him Baby Yoda. If you don't call him Baby Yoda,
it is Space Wizards, and this is an argument that everybody's had with Star Wars, is that we've always just had the Force.
Important to say, if you don't call him Baby Yoda, you can call him Toy Yoda. Get it?
That's good.
That's good.
That's good.
Toy Yoda. I'm so awesome. I stole that.
Do that in hands, baby.
I don't have a problem with any of the characters at all.
Okay, so
waiting
for it.
My problem is that I watched 6 hours of character development. That's all I've watched.
It's the first season. They got to build it up.
That was what I said.
Now you're hooked for season 2.
No,
you know everything.
No. This is my issue with it. You give me 6 fucking hours of just character development. Okay, I've watched better shows. Not gonna name a show, but like I have watched better shows that have had character development in one fucking episode, and it went on for 30 episodes with continuing a story without having to deal with like character development over fucking 6 hours or whatever.
Okay, give me another
now,
reason.
The fucking Firefly.
No, give me another reason why you don't like Mandalorian.
Okay, I watched.
That's stupid.
Like Firefly is my example.
Okay,
Firefly they all did in one episode. But anyways, we watched 8 episodes, 45 minutes, 50-minute episodes. We don't know why they're going after the Baby Yoda.
That makes me want to watch season 2.
That's a hook.
Give me something else.
No, let me continue.
I just want to answer this. Stay on track here.
The Baby Yoda thing doesn't make sense because why would you not explain at all in any way, shape, or form why that asset is so important that you would send small fucking armies for?
Because it's fog of war.
No, it makes perfect sense.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
You want an
make
exposition talking head to be like,
no,
they're doing this because of
no.
Blah, blah, blah,
this
blah,
is
blah.
wrong because in the first fucking episode, they got the guy. They get the asset. They bring it to the fucking dude.
Someone take his coat.
And then they give it to the scientist guy. The guy doesn't do anything to Baby Yoda. He's like, I say Baby Yoda, blah, 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 blah. Nothing fucking happened to that guy, but he had all the answers, and they didn't even go back to try to get the fucking answers.
Yoda's race is very mysterious. We know nothing about it.
I know we don't.
We don't find out till episode 8. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. And then the whole Jedi thing, he could possibly have the Force, yada, yada.
He has the Force.
Take him back, spoiler alert, take him back to his people. Go. All right. End of season. Tune in next year. Anyways.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It's okay that it's so mysterious because for all of Yoda's life in Star Wars, he was fucking mysterious. We didn't know anything about him except that he was like 900 years old. So
I understand
that's
that.
okay. And then we see little things in the character development where he's using the Force to like kill the giant monster and stuff, which was really fucking cool. It shows, okay, he has the Force. Maybe that's the species. Like you're starting to suspect there's more specialness to his species.
Everybody knows.
okay.
Everybody knows that Yoda's race is Force sensitive.
It's not everybody though, because it's only people who like actually deep dive into like.
Okay.
And no
Let
one
me put it out there for the whole
and-
world to know. Yoda's race is Force sensitive.
Okay, but
I'm
no one
saying
in the
from
Mandalorian.
the movies you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, no one in the Mandalorian knows that because they're like, "What is this? What? It's a fucking Yoda." They don't know that because it's such a mysterious race.
Right. And they gave it to a scientist who knew things about the race, knew things about the about
But
the,
you had to
the
get-
asset
well, no, they
and
need-
all this stuff. And he also knew about why they wanted to capture him, what the purpose of him
I don't
is.
think
and they just
knew.
let him.
I just
Then
think
the
they
fucking
suspected-
happened.
I just think they suspected he was similar to Yoda. Let's experiment on him. Otherwise, they probably would have built upon that earlier on.
Let me throw you a possibility.
Because all it is right now is that the characters have a thing that the Empire wants, and they don't even know why it's so important to have it, to protect it.
Well,
And
keep
let
in
me-
mind,
and
it's
let
an
me-
origin story too. So there's a reason why they spent so much time on character development.
Okay, well, we have to be careful now because now we have Moff Gideon who shows up with a darksaber, and if you don't know anything about the darksaber, I can educate you because
I don't.
the
Educate
because
me.
now we're
It's
starting
the
because now
only-
we're
it's
starting
the
to go
only
into
Mandalorian-
like
it's the only
Star Wars
Mandalorian
lore.
Jedi.
Now we're
There's
starting to
only
go into
one.
like real Star Wars lore because the last time that you saw it, it was on Mandalore.
In
So-
It's a
Sabine.
Mandalorian fucking lightsaber,
Okay.
The guy,
and it's a canon story.
There's been in Star Wars history. There's only one Jedi.
The
that
black.
we know
We're
of.
talking about that black lightsaber at
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah,
right?
that's
the
a
Darksaber.
darksaber.
There's
Okay.
only one Jedi
that's the only
we
one.
know of who was Mandalorian,
Okay.
and he was. Mandalore is also a title. It means like their king, like the top Mandalore. So he was the Mandalore of his age, and he was also a Jedi.
Okay.
So he had a very unique lightsaber. It was called the Darksaber, and the crystal was black. No one prior to or since then in canon has had a black lightsaber crystal.
Nope, nobody.
That's why it was unique. It was unique for a bunch of different reasons.
Well, then so
The last time you see it in anything was during the Star Wars show Rebels, when a young Mandalorian girl, Sabine Wren, is training with it with an outcast Jedi, and he's
Yeah.
teaching her how to use the lightsaber.
So that gives me reason to believe they're going to build upon that in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
The other thing is the guy who created the show that has that in it is Dave Filoni. The guy who co-writes The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau is Dave Filoni.
There it is. So what else is your problem?
How did he get the fucking darksaber?
That's season
assume
2.
That's season 2.
Okay, no, because what? Now I'm gonna have 8 episodes of
He's-
watching how this fucking dude gets the
Oh no, it's
darksaber.
Hollywood.
No.
It's not going to be 8 episodes. It's probably going to be 16 episodes for season 2.
That kind of thing. I'm not down.
It's got to be a cliffhanger. How else would you want them to cliffhang you?
Here's
There's
the other-
multiple ways they could cliffhang you.
Here's the other thing is that the assumption is that, and this is what I've tried to explain to other people, is that like when they watch it and they're like, well, how do they not know what the Force is and what a Jedi is? It's like, because you have to remember that the 20 years or so that the Empire reigned, they suppressed all information
That's
about
true,
the
yeah.
Jedi and the Force.
I'm aware of all
and
this.
All of that.
I'm aware of this. Yeah.
He's just
So
saying generally.
That's what I'm saying. The scientists might not even know what Yoda is. The Emperor might, and maybe Moff Gideon does, because he was the head of the ISB.
Well, and also the Mandalorian girl, the queen or whatever, she was explaining what Jedi was, and the Mandalorian was looking at her like, "What? Huh?"
oh yeah,
You remember that line?
The Smith.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Now go," and then she like kicked all their asses
Because she's a repository.
Stormtroopers.
Because, and this is going deep. 6,000
Something like that.
6,000 years before the first movie, Episode 1, Mandalorians invaded Republic space, and the Jedi were the ones who fought on the front lines to push them back.
Yeah.
That's how the Mandalore as a culture remembers the Jedi as admirable foes and warriors to fight and kill, because that was their whole culture. So that's how she knows about it, because they're a very sectarian and
Right.
introverted culture and race.
They killed Samuel L. Jackson, right?
He's dead, dude.
Probably.
Palpatine killed him.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
Fuck, Palpatine's not dead.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe Samuel L. Jackson will be in season 2.
no, that doesn't make sense. That makes no
But
sense.
my whole idea
I
was
just
that,
that's my issue. It's like, okay, I'm not saying that the show is bad.
Look, he's on Marvel. That's a Disney property. Star Wars is Disney property. Samuel L. Jackson's probably going to be returned in season 2. You watch.
That makes
They've
no
already
sense.
double billed the scientist guy. He was in Rogue One. He was the pilot.
What was Samuel L. Jackson's Jedi name?
Mace
Mace
Windu.
Windu.
Mace Windu. If Mace Windu returns for season 2, I'm coming back to the show to talk about
He's
it.
not coming. That makes no
That's
sense.
the other. It's. I think it's going to be more likely that we find that the Mandalorian finds either a Jedi outcast or a gray Jedi somewhere.
I don't know about I don't know about the gray. I don't know about the gray Jedi thing.
In canon, the Jedi and the Sith were like the yin and yang, the light and the dark. Gray Jedi were people who believe that in order to have balance in the Force and yourself, you could kill, like if it was for the greater good. So they were that, centrist libertarian of Force users.
There are 2 Yodas in Star Wars.
Yeah, Yaddle.
Yeah.
On the council, yeah.
He didn't die.
She
didn't die.
It depends on who you ask.
Did she die on screen?
No.
She didn't die.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that then, because then I would say pretty much every other Jedi that you didn't see die on screen is alive.
That's correct.
That's thousands upon thousands.
But as far as like the features that were there, she was one of the ones that was featured in the
movies,
council
yeah.
in the
She
movies.
was on the council.
Yeah.
So the fact that she didn't die
She was
suggests
the only council member that we don't see die.
yeah. So that suggests that she is still alive, which I think, because I'm a genius at this, she's going to be in season 2 probably also.
That's, maybe.
And if that's the case,
Or maybe they make a stop on Dagobah.
I definitely wait. What?
Maybe they end up on, or no, because it's after 6. Never mind. Or they could find Yoda's hut on Dagobah.
Yeah.
Like there's.
But if she's still alive in season 2, I'm coming back to do the show again, because that means I just have like this sick Jedi mind of like knowledge. I can foresee things, like I'm a Jedi prophet. Steve has completely drowned me out.
I just think that I've debated
What if
with
Toy
so
Yoda
many
or Baby
people.
Yoda is her kid?
I have
Wait a second.
No, 'cause
What if
we
it's
don't
her
know-
kid with Yoda.
no, because we don't know. That'd be fucking dumb. Just saying, because we don't know. Because everyone says that like in the lore of Star Wars, that race like could be just Force-born.
How old is the baby Yoda?
He's 50 years old.
At least 50.
So it is possible they could have conceived him
Oh my god,
in one of the earlier episodes.
I'm getting tilted as fuck right now.
It
Correct?
would be.
I'm tilted
if
out right
50
now.
years would be prior to episode 1 at that point, yeah.
Are we sure of that?
No. Because I don't have. Do they say what year BB Wyatt is
I think it's like
for Mandalorian?
I don't know.
I don't think they do. I don't think they give. Because they measure.
How do we know he's 50? Where did I miss that part of the script?
Because when he's first.
They say it in the
talking-
first episode with the
he's
fucking
talking-
scientist
he's
guy
talking to
that doesn't
Werner-
matter anymore.
He's talking to Werner Herzog.
The guy that knows
when
everything
he's
about
first
it but
getting-
doesn't know anything about it apparently.
You're assuming that like there's one person, either Werner Herzog or the doctor, who's like, I know everything about this.
Why would you not then try to find out? Regardless, why would you not even try?
He was in the middle of a gunfight. It wasn't the time to
That's
like
true. That
stop
was a pretty
have,
epic gunfight.
like an expositional conversation. I mean, you saw how he had to get out of town, right?
And
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
He's just been saying it because he didn't want to get shot. So maybe
That's the other thing.
he doesn't know anything.
Sure.
I mean, I would have just said all kinds of bullshit if I was about to die,
Okay, sure, fine then.
But-
Your guys' fucking argument for it is totally valid, and my reasoning for them not doing it is invalid.
I
Then that's
didn't
all I'm
say
hearing.
that either.
So this is Yoda's love child. It's safe to assume.
Sure, fine. That's
all right.
fine. Go ahead. If you guys want to make shit up, then fine. Go
I
ahead.
didn't make shit up.
If
I'm
it
just
happens in
offering-
season
I'm offering
2,
a
we're
possibility.
gonna have to talk
It's
about it.
it's irritating as fuck to me. Like honestly, this whole fucking thing is irritating as fuck to me.
3 new movies of complete fucking shit where they didn't explain anything. And you're fine with that?
I never said the 3 movies were fucking good. What are you talking about?
No, what I'm saying, but you're.
She's saying comparatively.
Yeah.
I didn't like the 3 movies. What the fuck are you talking
That's
about?
what I'm saying. Compared to the other Star Wars,
Because they didn't make any fucking sense.
Okay, but that's my point. But they had time to explain. They didn't. This is a show, so it's going to work differently.
They tried to have it make sense. They tried to say, "Oh, it's canon," da 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 da, da, and it wasn't, and it was shit, and I hated them. This is a fucking fact. I've been saying this shit for a year, 2-3 years.
Well, did you like the Solo?
I liked Solo. Guess they hated it. So whatever.
Oh, what's your name?
So that means the whole movie's bad.
No, but that was par for the course
Jesus.
for the rest of the fucking movie. It's like, oh, Chewbacca.
Did you like
they're
the
gonna
Solo
have to
movie?
Think of a nickname
I actually
for you.
didn't watch it. I just wanted to throw it in there to see what would happen.
I liked it. They didn't like it. We've had this conversation on the podcast
I mean, I'm a
before.
Chewbacca fan, so so I just
Have you watched the new Star Trek Behind a Paywall series?
wait.
The
Behind, what?
Enterprise? The Enterprise. The
Oh,
new Enterprise.
That Wait, I've seen all Star Trek. Enterprise with Scott Bakula.
No. The one with Michael Rappaport. The newest series. prior to-
Discovery.
Discovery, yeah.
Okay. What the hell is he talking about?
Sorry. It is behind the paywall, though.
Okay. What about it?
What were your thoughts going?
Okay. Discovery's still mysterious. Going into the next season, they're supposed to be 900 years into the future. So it'll be interesting to see where the world is, well, the universe is in the year 3000.
Where does it take place in the timeline, though, Discovery?
Discovery
Is it prior to Next Generation, or
Discovery takes place 10 years before Captain Kirk boards the Enterprise.
so between Bakula and Kirk? Then
That's correct.
okay. I that was one thing I didn't like about the Star Trek TV series was that they kept going back, and I wanted to see.
They've done a
wanna see new
really
shit.
good job explaining things. Like, for example, in the original series, right? Because that's 1960s movie magic technology that you're using, right? But now we have everything that's like CGI'd, and all your TV shows look like movies. So in Discovery, instead of you talking to somebody that's like on Earth on a screen, they come in the form of a hologram. Well, that wasn't technology that was used in the original series. So there's a couple lines that clean that up, that basically, talk about how that technology is going to be done away with because it's outdated and stuff.
They're saying holograms are less advanced than a screen.
Right. So once the Enterprise, see, this is how they hide it all very nicely. On the Enterprise, they don't have the holograms, and the Enterprise is supposed to be the flagship, the state of the art.
That because I watched the first few episodes of Discovery, and
Right.
every time I'd see something like new and cool, I was like, "Well, that
Right.
how does that make sense?"
So that's how they tie it up. Like there's a couple lines that explain why they're phasing out holograms and they're going to screens and stuff like that. So they tie up that loose end. There's a couple other loose ends in regards to like the way the Klingons look. Because it was like, why do the Klingons look that way? They don't look anything like they did in the original series.
Because Worf doesn't look anything like the original.
No, the originals look like humans.
Yeah.
But that's all explained in Deep Space Nine when they go back into time, and they're a part of the original series as well. It's explained why Worf doesn't look like them. There was some genetic experimentation, mutations that had
Oh
happened.
shit! I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't because I'm a Trekker. So that gets all cleaned up. But then it's like, well, wait a second. If this is taking place Discovery, if this is taking place 10 years prior to the original series, shouldn't they kind of look like humans? It's around the same time frame and stuff. Why do they look so dramatically different?
Because in the first episode, there's like the albino one, and I was kind of like,
Right, and they have all the ridges and all that
I ain't
stuff, and
seen
they're
that
bald
before.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Well,
Have
what's
you
your
watched any Discovery?
Yes,
Did you also have questions about albino Klingons?
a little bit.
so season one?
But historically, the Klingons has never been fucking really the continuity of
Right.
Klingons across the board for all shows have never been fucking.
So season one, season
right,
two,
right.
they're like bald, right? But they got the ridges.
Sometimes they got the thing, sometimes they don't.
And
So they got-
Sometimes
Well,
shit all
no.
over their face and then-
They're
Yeah.
different colors because there's different tribes of Klingons. That's how they explain it. By season, by towards the end of season 2 of Discovery, they start growing the black hairs, right? So now something has to happen between Discovery and the original series where the genetic mutation happens, where they start changing to look human in order to line up with Captain Kirk.
Correct
in the
me.
60s.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like they just took how they explained why Romulans look different and just like, oh well, Klingons did that too. Because Romulans also did that same thing where they did genetic testing. That's why Eric Bana's Romulan looks so much different than like the actual Romulans. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know Romulans are around the same part of the galaxy that the Vulcans are. They're like cousin races or whatever. But yeah, they probably did stuff too as far as like the genetic mutations.
Because Eric Bana and that whole ship of Romulans don't look anything like.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at it.
Who's the blonde, the admiral chick from?
Oh,
Romulus?
she's half human.
Oh, is she? Oh, fuck!
Yeah, so that's Tasha Yar's.
Tasha Yar. Yeah.
So Tasha Yar ends up going back in time on the Enterprise C.
God damn, it's hard to keep up
And
with
that's
all
how
the time travel.
that's how that works out. Yeah.
Fucking time travel.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Discovery goes into the future 900 years, and that's where we're going to be picking up season 3. So I'm super excited about that. Basically, the galaxy is in ruins by that point. So we'll see what happens.
It's all the way past everything then.
Everything, technically.
So then,
because in Voyager, 1,000 years in the future, it's Starfleet, it's the time ship relativity. But we don't know if this is right before that or just after that. It's way super in the future, which would explain why Discovery and its missions, because they were super top secret, and there's a lot to do with like Section 31 and stuff like that, that it was probably super classified, and that's why it's never brought up anywhere in Star Trek lore.
I know what you're talking about in Section 31. Can you explain that to everyone else?
Yeah,
now?
it's basically Men in Black. It's basically what it is. It's a subdivision of Starfleet that exists / don't exist.
Yeah. So it's basically their version of their black bag group.
Yeah. And it's badass. And they get their own. They're going to get their own show as well.
In the JJ timeline, someone had mentioned this, and it never got put into the script that the admiral who was in charge of
it's implied
of defrosting Khan was Section.
Yeah, you can tell all the black and stuff. It's implied because Section 31 was never mentioned in the original series. It's never mentioned in Next Generation. It is mentioned in Deep Space Nine, and it is also mentioned in Enterprise. Anytime it's mentioned or brought up, it's all like dark black. So it's implied that these are Section 31
that
members.
admiral was the head.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard someone else make an argument that he was actually the head. Probably of Section 31.
And then in Discovery, there are little moments before Section 31 is revealed of like Starfleet guards that have the black Starfleet badges. It's implied that this is a subdivision of Star Trek or Starfleet that no one is really aware of because they're not out there that way.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, it's covert. It's badass. And I can't wait till their show comes out too.
Have they said anything? Is that going to be behind a paywall?
They've just been pushing a lot of Picard. So
I think it's going to be
Picard,
good.
Lower Decks.
I just hope Picard's going to be good. Honestly,
it's going to be a comedy. I'm super excited about that. And then Discovery. But what you're seeing with Star Trek is like what they did in the 90s, where you had multiple Star Trek franchises all going at one time. This isn't anything new. CSI, right? Same thing.
Do you think they'll bring someone else, another actor, in to be Q, or is he even going to be in Picard?
John Delancey has. Did he say? No. If they bring Q back, they would bring back John Delancey.
Do you think? Because he's aged.
Well, yeah, but
he's
so is Picard.
But Picard's a human. Q is the farthest thing possibly from it.
But what they will probably do is they'll probably be a cover story for that as well.
So just as a joke to make fun of Picard, like I'm also looking old.
But then again, if you look at prosthetics and the way that Hollywood's doing things,
it looks so creepy when they do that though.
Like I don't know if you remember Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
But that was like they did minimal CGI. They actually. I mean, when they had like Brad Pitt shirtless, he looked super young. But his face, I mean, they could put mask on to make him look super young.
But that's not what they've been doing lately. Like if you look at like the.
Also, it's a lot easier to make somebody look old than it is to make them look young.
A lot of CGI involved too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like
that's not true because did you see Gemini with Will Smith? Mm-hmm. He looks like he's 22 years old. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Is like if you look, I don't think it looks good. To me, it falls in the uncanny valley.
You don't think looking younger looks good?
It looks weird. It doesn't. It takes me.
Did you ever see?
It takes me out of like.
Did you see the second Tron movie? Tron.
Yes, I did.
So yeah. So in the beginning.
But that's different than what they did with Will Smith's face.
Well, no. About, like, in the beginning of the Tron movie.
The new one.
Uh-huh.
Legacy.
Yeah, Tron Legacy.
Okay. I didn't know what it was.
What the fuck is his name that is in the movie?
Jeff
Bridges. He's young in that first scene. Mm-hmm. He's not even there. It's a CGI recreation of him. He's not even there in the scene.
It's not his body. It's actually an actor's body.
No, even his body is completely CGI in
Oh,
it.
they didn't put anyone
No.
in
I
a
thought it
green
was an
suit?
actor's body that
No,
they used.
they put a guy. There's a guy there, but he's just in a suit with green dots all over him and shit.
Oh, so yeah,
He's just in a mocap
There's a
suit,
mocap
but he's
guy.
not like in the jacket or anything. It's all CGI. They did a good job with it, but then when you know it, you go back, you're like, oh.
Did you see the?
It looks doughy and
the
weird.
movie that just came out on
Like,
Netflix.
it's
The
weird.
Irishman?
But that makes
No.
sense 'cause Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't in the real world. Like-
So in The Irishman, they have like the first like 30 minutes or so of the movie, they CGI Robert De Niro's face and Joe Pesci's, so they look like they're 20, but they don't. They just look like old Robert De Niro, but without wrinkles. Because young Robert De Niro doesn't look like old Robert De Niro. Like if I put the CGI of Robert De Niro in The Irishman next to Godfather 2 or Taxi Driver,
does not look.
They don't look
They
alike.
don't look the same. They don't
But
look
for
right.
and that's what I'm saying. Like it falls in
Okay.
that uncanny valley of like that doesn't look right.
For the sake of Star Trek, though, Q being, omnipotent, you could use the technology that they use for like Will Smith and Gemini to make him look young and get away with it, because what they do is they frame reference everything from like Voyager and the Next Generation and even other shows that John Delancey was in, to show what his face was more youthful, to try to superimpose digitally on him to make him look like he's supposed to. So in that case, because he's Q, they could get away with it if they were really going to put that much money into Picard, which I think they should, because that would be fucking amazing.
So do you think he's even going to be in it, or
I don't see why not.
because if they're going for like a kind of darker atmosphere, I don't feel like Q the character would fit,
Why?
because he always seemed more of like a trickster dick than like
But like
someone
in a
who's
dark way.
I never
Remember, humanity was always on trial with Q.
and that's what I'm saying. Like his tests were never anything that Picard or anyone else couldn't overcome. There was always a solution if you were clever enough to figure it out. Like the way that they're kind of making Picard seem like it's kind of like, everything's dark, like the darkest timeline. Like Romulus blew up, everything sucked. Like Starfleet is becoming more like corrupt. You know what I mean?
Because
like,
he gives it all up and he goes back to his vineyards, and that is his life now.
but is it
for the last
is it,
X amount
but
of
does
years?
he go back to his vineyards in shame? Because that was my read on it.
He walked away from. It appears going into the first episode when it comes out, in a little bit here. It appears the character of Jean-Luc Picard has retreated to a different way of life, and he's going back to his family vineyard. The actor who played his brother actually just died recently because they were trying to write in a part for him into this. And bless you, and
Thank you.
tragically he
Sorry
died
about that.
last year before they could shoot it. So they're going to obviously write that into it, but he goes back to do a completely different way of life, leaving Starfleet and everything that it was behind him. I don't think
Well,
it's necessarily because he failed with Romulus. I think he feels like Starfleet had failed altogether, and it was just too much of a shit show. That's what I'm getting from all of this. And he's decided to go down a new path. And by the time we pick up with episode 1 of this new Star Trek show, it's like Picard is already into the groove of living life a different way. Not necessarily bad.
I know that his nephew died
In a fire, yeah.
in a fire, but he also had a niece, didn't he? Or was that just the ribbon?
No.
He only had a nephew?
What you're thinking of is when he has
Is it
that
the
dream
ribbon?
sequence in the
In the
Nexus.
ribbon,
Yeah. No, he just had
It was just
Renee,
the
the boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, oh shit, he's all alone then at that vineyard.
Yeah.
I mean,
Unless
Well, he's got a dog.
unless his
yeah.
unless
or his
his
brother's widow.
unless his sister-in-law is hanging out, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We're not going to know until we watch it.
So you're looking forward to it.
I'm huge on it. I'm a huge
Do you think it's gonna?
Star Trek
Do you
fan.
think that it's gonna be pretty well received? Just
Yeah.
for the fact that it's
just
Star
the
Wars.
teasers that have come out have really implied this is going to be something fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, because the fandoms for different things will kind of show that. If everyone is hyped up about Picard just on the little details that they've showed, it clearly shows this is going to be fucking epic. 2016, I believe it was called Ghostbusters. Most disliked video of all time ever on YouTube.
At that point.
That was
At that
enough.
point, yeah.
That was enough to show this is probably not going to go the right way.
Right.
So the movie comes out horrible, and it's not because it was an all-female cast. It was definitely because of the writing. But that is something
Because
completely.
it's a garbage movie.
Yeah, well, it's just, even Hemsworth.
That aside.
don't even get me started on that. It was horrible.
The problem is that instead of the original Ghostbusters was about more like it was a buddy cop movie. Like, I think in its essence,
they got those comedians, the comedians of today, all female, from SNLs and stuff like that, to kind of reflect what it was in the 80s with those particular actors and stuff. So I don't think the female cast was the problem. It was the writings, and it was the way that they made it a different universe, which really, really sucked.
I think it was stupid because you had Ernie Hudson, who, on the face of it, just looking at it, it's like, oh, well, there's the token black guy. But if you watch the movies, he's not. He's the point of reference for the audience.
Yeah.
He is the everyman
Exactly.
coming into a world of like fucking ghosts and shit.
Right.
He's the lens through which we see.
Well, see, and that was
but
Leslie
they didn't
Jones's.
but they didn't fucking do that with Leslie Jones. They made
did.
her. They made her the most fucking token.
You think
stereotypical?
So? Yeah, you're right. No.
She was so stereotypical.
I see what you mean, but
stupid.
they were. You're absolutely correct. I think they were trying to make her this generation's Winston, which was ironic because her uncle actually was Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
In the alternate universe. But good example. The new Ghostbusters, which I'm super fucking excited about, because if there's one thing that gets me more excited than Star Trek, it's fucking Ghostbusters. That comes out. None of the original cast members are in the trailer, and it is fucking epic, which shows me
Look good.
it's going to be a fucking amazing movie. Amazing.
I feel like I'm concerned for Finn Wolfhard as an actor. Maybe he should do something not sci-fi next.
It's different than Stranger Things, though. It's completely different.
It's got fucking spooky shit.
When he's older, he can change.
It's got spooky shit.
No,
Yeah.
this is where he needs
He's
to be.
spooky shit, kid.
Okay, he got Ghostbusters, which he's perfect for
From spooky
because
shit.
of Stranger Things. Stranger Things is not as comedic; it's more dramatic. I think he's gonna be fine.
So is it.
Sigourney Weaver, the only reason she got, well, I mean, they would have taken her probably no matter what, but the reason she got Ghostbusters is because she just came off the Alien franchise, sci-fi spooky shit.
Fair enough.
Does that mean Finn is our generation's Sigourney Weaver?
I'm
He's
just
got
saying-
the hair for
I'm
it.
Just saying, I'm
Finn
just saying,
Star Wars from Star Wars?
No, Finn Wolfhard.
Oh, Finn Wolf. I was like, who are we
And
talking
one
about
of
Star Wars
the
again?
cool
We
I'm
do
saying
that.
diversify your acting
Since
portfolio.
we're talking about Ghostbusters,
You can change it later on.
one of the cool things about Ghostbusters, which is completely underrated that no one is like really noticing, is when the pop-out chair happens and like she's busting ghosts from the Ecto-1. That's from the cartoon.
Yeah.
No one is like mentioning how that's from the cartoon. They're just mentioning like, oh, it's so cool. It's got a pop-out seat because it's from the cartoon. It's so fucking cool.
I'll deep cut for you from the fucking cartoon. The guy who does Bill, what is Bill Murray's character's name in Ghostbusters?
Peter Venkman,
The guy who does Peter Venkman's voice
Dave Coulier, yeah.
in the cartoon also did Garfield's voice. And then
And
Bill
also
Murray,
Uncle Joey
and
from
then-
Full House.
Well,
duh.
but then in the movies, Bill Murray does the voice of Garfield.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of flip. That's pretty good.
Yeah, right.
That is pretty good.
It all comes full circle.
I love it. But yeah, no. So like the new Ghostbusters is going to be amazing. You can tell from the new trailer, it's going to be amazing. So to go back to Picard, just based on the teasers that have come out over the last year, fuck yes. This is what we've been waiting for.
How much is the fact that it's behind a paywall going to impact it? Do you have CBS streaming
Yes, I do. CBS All Access.
for Star Trek specifically?
Actually, yeah, I bought it specifically.
Only for that?
I mean,
Nerd.
I can watch other things, like I can watch live TV, but let's be honest, I got it
I'm saying
specifically
when you got it,
for
it
Star
was
Trek.
for Discovery.
It was for Discovery, yeah.
You didn't have it prior to that.
I didn't have it prior, no.
Yeah, okay. But that's my point. Like, I know when I watched Discovery, I took to the high seas because my thoughts are like, well, it's Star Trek and it's CBS. Why wouldn't you put it on television?
There are certain things in this world that I still believe to pay for, and I'm a huge fan and dedicated for. One of those things happens to be Star Trek.
But that's the thing.
So
If I'm
I will buy into
it.
it.
If I'm watching it on TV, then I'm doing the advertising.
Watching it on TV requires me to rearrange my schedule to make sure that I have to watch it when they tell me to watch it. Yes, I can DVR and do all that other shit as well. But that would require me to actually set it all up. And I
That's too much work.
That would take effort.
and I don't have time to do that.
I don't have time to move my thumb to the left a little.
No,
and push a
absolutely
button.
not.
Oh God.
Because this is what's going to happen because I have so many streaming apps. I buy into Hulu, I buy into Netflix, I buy into all that shit. If I was to go ahead and DVR it, I don't even have cable or satellite. I have internet streaming channels. But it's like a few steps to get to my DVR. I will fucking forget about the fact that I'm DVRing it. Seriously.
If you forget, it gets deleted.
And then it gets deleted.
Yeah.
And then it fucking gets deleted, and then I get pissed. And it's like, why am I paying for this
And
shit?
it's all your fault.
And it's all my fault. I can't tell you how many missed episodes of Dr. Phil I have saved on my fucking DVR that I have
Dr.
not
Phil.
gotten
First
around
of
to
all-
watch
first of
because
all-
I forget that I have them.
Everyone that's deleted is a good thing.
Fair enough. I agree.
Dr. Phil?
It just sounds
I
like.
love Dr. Phil. He has an amazing podcast, by the way, too.
Have you seen the one that he did with Bam Margera? That was crazy.
Did
Yeah.
you see?
Yes, that was a good episode.
Crazy.
Did you see the Ron White stand up where he's talking about Phil?
No, but I have seen Ron White's interview with Phil, with Dr. Phil on Fill in the Blanks, his podcast.
Okay, so they're friends.
Yeah.
It was. I watched it with you. How many years ago was that? The Ron White stand up? It had to be a couple years ago. And he does like a whole thing about like his friendship with Phil.
Uh-huh.
It's just like it's so random. Just like the only thing that
They're
they
both
have in
from
common
Texas.
is that's it. That's the only thing they have in common.
Yeah. You really need to
It's the
listen
little
to-
things in life.
That's it.
You
But
gotta
Texas
listen to
is a
this
big
interview
place.
with him on his podcast. It's pretty good.
Phil has nothing in common with tater salad.
That's what makes their interview so raw and good for like an hour. Like the questions he's throwing at him and like the way that he responds, it's a really dynamic interview. Dr. Phil's awesome.
Unlike this one, fuck you. How dare you?
So do you feel like
Yeah.
it just it just sounds like already that like the Star Trek like lore and everything is fucking so much more put together than Star Wars is. Outside of the
that's
shows.
because
People, like-
there's so many different stories.
Well, have you read
Well,
the
Roddenberry also kept it in the family.
Have you
Like,
read
they
the
still
books?
Talk to his kid.
Have you read the
Like,
Star
he's a
Trek
big
books?
Part of it.
Have I read the what?
Star Trek books?
Some of them, but I'm more like just kind of skim.
Would you say that the
I'm not a
books?
reader.
Do
Unless it's
now
a
I don't
script and I'm
know. Do
getting
the
paid for it.
books also follow canon with the show?
Yes.
Yes.
Do they do it well, better than fucking Star Wars?
There's more detail.
Because I'm gonna be
Okay,
completely honest.
okay.
I've never read a single Star Trek book.
There's more
So-
detail. There's more detail in the in between stories. So if you, unlike myself, if you actually read the stories, by the time you watch that story take place on camera, you have more background.
Right.
Which I guess is okay. But if you don't read the books, you, like myself, you can still get the gist of what's going on by watching the show.
Gotcha. So you feel like the stories are way better on Star Trek side than Star Wars?
I do but then again, like, I don't know how to explain it because you have like
Well, you like both.
the original series, right? You have that part of Star Trek, right? And then they go 70, 75 years into the future or 100 years in the future with the Next Generation. And then you have that storyline, right? And they still pay homage to the original series. And then immediately following that, you have Deep Space Nine, which, occasionally pays homage to things that happened in the original series and Next Generation. And then you have Voyager,
Four lights.
right? that pulls from Next Generation occasionally. And they dabbled about talking about the original series as well. Like everything kind of has its own story, but they still sprinkle elements of the other storylines into that current story that you're watching.
Right.
Here's-
So you're going to be super critical of Picard.
Probably, but it's
Gotcha.
going to be good. And then with Scott Bakula, with the Enterprise, it's like this is a prequel to the original series. So it's like, well, how are you going to explain this story? Well, that's easy. This Enterprise was one of the experimental ships, the NX instead of the NCC. So, and because it was the NX-01, it was the first Warp 5 starship. Technically, we don't have to include it because it was part of the experiment. It was a prototype, basically. It wasn't an official starship.
I love how fucking that entire franchise could just cover all their bases.
Well, because
it's so fucking cool.
It took place before the. It took place before the United Federation of Planets. You see, that's how Enterprise ended with the treaty of the United Federation of Planets. And the original series back in the 60s starts with the United Federation of Planets. So that's how they got around with Enterprise.
I wish Star Wars could do that, man.
I was never
Star Wars can't.
fan of the Bakula series. I didn't like the intro song. I thought it was dumb. It's been a long time. It was like the most
you gotta love Diane Warren.
bullshit.
Great lyrics.
Like,
do you think
Nickelback fucking Creed sounding bullshit song?
Do you think
Hey, I like Creed.
It was the long time. You there to hear.
Do you think the theme song is what brought down the entire series?
Yes, because I had to fucking listen to it every goddamn episode.
You see, and that's why Netflix
Because this was prior. No, this was prior to that.
You just hit
This was
skip
before
intro.
That. This was before
I
that.
know,
It was
I know.
before fucking TiVo. I had to listen to that shit song, and it was only until like the third season that they cut it. That they went to like from a minute and a half song to like 30 seconds. I was like, you took fucking 3 seasons to realize the song sucks. No one wants to listen to it.
Well, okay, to be honest, I used to watch Next Generation, A Little Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. By the time Enterprise came out, I didn't have time for it because I didn't want to make time for it because, like you said, it wasn't
Theme song.
It wasn't all that. Now it's really cool.
Star and their like intro. That's, like,
Hey, I like Battlestar.
I like Battlestar. That intro.
The old one or the new one?
I'm all for it, man.
Previously,
Like the old one from the 80s?
No, the new one.
Oh, the new one. Okay.
Yeah, it is like
Previously, on Battlestar Galactica. It's like, bitch, you know I've been watching 30 episodes for the past 20 hours. I know what just happened.
Back in the day, it came out every week.
Since we're on sci-fi, have you guys watched Lost in Space?
Yes. Fucking good.
We should have just did the whole episode on Lost in Space.
So
I'm fucking mind blown.
wildly
I have a
overhyped.
problem. I'm going to start Lost in Space. That was Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening. Fuck, I finished it.
I thought you said it sucked.
Yes, that's why I said
That's
wildly
my problem.
overhyped.
I watched the whole
I liked
season
it.
in one day because I am completely hooked. So I have to wait now a year.
I liked
didn't-
it.
I didn't care. I watched the first season and I was like, I hope the robot kills them all.
By the way, since,
I was like,
I'm
fuck
gonna-
Penny,
let me
fuck
read-
Will, fuck them all. They all. No character has any redeeming qualities that I care to continue watching.
I'm going to read you what I wrote Lost in Space's Twitter page because I was so hooked. I wrote this a few days ago. Hey, Lost in Space TV, I'm about to wrap up binging season 2. Please do us all a favor and don't wait nearly 2 years or 20 months, season 1 and season 2 wait time, to be exact, to premiere season 3. I can't get enough of this show. Oh, wait, somebody liked it. Who liked it? Was it them? I have to go look.
What if it was them?
Wait, hold on. Who is this? Oh, no. It's just a follower.
Some fucking plebe.
Some fucking loser.
Whatever.
He probably likes Star Wars.
I feel watching it.
It's way better
It made me want
than the original because
William Hurt and fucking. You know what? I was watching it. I was like, you know what this show needs? More Joey. Needs a lot more Joey.
So it's pretty much safe to say that the best sci-fi show out right now, given the fact there's a lot, is probably Mandalorian.
that's only because of Baby Yoda.
Don't get me started. Because I said about
His
The
outfit's
Mandalorian
pretty dope.
that I feel like the show
There's
is
an
less
argument
about
for
The
Rick and Morty.
Mandalorian now and more about the fact that there's Baby Yoda in it because it's cute.
Okay, yeah, the cute aspect, but the reason the Mandalorian works so well is because aside from that one moment where he's vulnerable and he takes off his mask in front of the robot,
I was fine with
he
that.
never. It was understandable. He never takes off the mask for anything. Even if you look at the behind the scenes,
Any living thing.
the behind the scenes crew shots of him and the other actors.
Yeah, he's keeping it on.
He kept it on. The stormtroopers took off their helmets, but he kept it on. That is dedication right there to the character.
Yeah.
So
great.
Something cool.
By the
about,
way, I don't mean to cut you off, but because we're on the topic of Mandalorian, I have before because yeah, I raged out about it, whatever. The reason why I had,
You
wigged
acknowledged
out.
it.
I was trying to go somewhere with that though, about where I think they're gonna go with season 2, because you guys always have these other ideas. So
Samuel L. Jackson, of course. That's logical. Yeah.
the Dr. Pershing is his name, of that character. He just disappears. Now they could have gone. That he could have come back, tried what, I don't know. I know that whole war that happened, it was like bullshit. It was fucking chaos after he got the asset and left and all that. So Dr. Pershing's character is in that like white and black like cloak, like it's very, very reminiscent of Camino, which are Clone Army. They made the Clone Army in episode 2.
So you think he's one of the cloners who took over?
I believe
after...
that he is from Camino and is a cloner, and that the asset, which is the baby Yoda, is a clone. And because in the episode he says extract what you need and be done with him. What extract what? I don't know, but that could be a like asset of the clones that maybe he created that was a failed whatever that got away.
What if Palpatine's a clone? And it's revealed in season 2.
You're going where?
I'm just kidding.
Well, no, because Palpatine made clones, and that's accurate.
That's not canon anymore.
It's not canon anymore, but he made clones in the canon.
That
he
was
made
one of the
clones,
books
and then
when
he
the,
like fucking Voldemorted and like
the
Horcruxed
Emperor-
himself into these other clones. Like he forced project
When-
himself into
when
these
the
clones.
Emperor
But they fucking
You can't tell me, right? Because it's going to tell me. What
No,
the episode-
because
they
in the
shit on it
canon-
in the new movie.
yeah, they shit on the new movie, but in the canon, that's why I'm saying he's in the movie. He shouldn't be in the movie because in the canon, his force like spirit was like torn asunder and like he doesn't exist anymore, so he can't possess any clones.
Does he use the Force in episode 9?
Yes.
Yeah,
In a very stupid way.
He shouldn't even be in the movie. He's fucking
It's
gone.
It's in such a way that I laughed.
He's
laughed at
gone. He
how
doesn't
dumb it was.
Okay,
exist.
I got to go watch it next week.
Did you see Solo?
Anyways,
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
but anyways, what I feel is that
Mandalorian.
the Baby Yoda, the asset is something that was either stolen or from the Camino homeworld, and that it needed to be, maybe there was something wrong with that one specifically, I don't know, during the cloning process, and it needed to be retrieved, and whatever they needed to extract from it basically kills it off, so that because it's like a failed clone.
So do you think it's a clone of Yoda or Yaddle?
I don't know. I
He's a clone?
I think that
Like, that's a good thing.
here's my only theory about whether
It's their
even the
child.
fact that whether it's either Yoda or
I
Yadi
want to see like a puppet sex.
is
tape, don't you?
because what are the odds?
that ass back up. You should.
Steve, I'm with you because we saw in that episode the one with the boot spurs that's going back to Boba.
Exactly. Don't know who that is. Yeah, we don't know who that is still.
But it could be
Um,
that might be foreshadowing about what you're saying.
Yes.
Wait, boots? Wait, what did I
in
miss?
the in like the fourth
where they're on
episode,
Tatooine,
in the fourth,
and they kill
yeah,
that shit, the Imperial chick, and then at the end of the episode, there's someone walking up to her corpse.
With boots on?
yeah, and it makes
Well,
spur sounds.
There's a
but-
spur sound when they're walking. The only character who like had a spur sound
Was
when the
Boba
Foley
Fett.
artist was like doing their walking sound was Boba Fett.
Boba Fett in the original trilogy.
Oh, that Mandalorian.
Yeah. So he's not even Mandalorian technically, but
He's got the
anyways,
same looking helmet.
None of them are Mandalorian.
yeah. It's a creed, but yeah, maybe it's foreshadowing. I don't know. Now, I don't know about the whole it being the clones from DNA from Yoda and Yaddle. I don't know about that because I don't know
I'm sure there was
if
Yoda
they
DNA
would be.
all over the Jedi Temple.
Well, I just don't know if like. We don't know the extent of the amount of information they need, especially because we don't really know anything about Yoda's race. How much information is retained in one hair or in one skin cell? We don't know. So,
Well, he's a foundling.
and well, that's a Mandalorian thing though.
Which is an interesting name, Foundling. Founder. See what I mean? Like, there's something special about that.
Foundling
race.
is actually a reference to the Joseph Campbell hero mythology book. A
Yeah.
foundling was when he was giving examples of like who in like mythology would fit the hero archetype. It was always, a bright-eyed farm boy or a foundling, a baby who was literally found. And then they're like, oh, this mysterious baby. And then we raise him from these humble beginnings and he gains that humbleness necessary to become a hero.
Superman.
Yeah, Superman being the most famous foundling.
So
Superman sucks.
That's true.
fair enough.
But
No pushback from me. There,
there's so much reference to the roots of the original Star Wars trilogy in The Mandalorian, and I think that's why I like it, because I love to deconstruct like the references and the origins of these stories.
Yeah.
And Star Wars has always been deeply rooted in the Joseph Campbell hero mythology, and then fucking samurai movies.
So
Yeah.
what do you
Spaghetti
predict
westerns.
will happen in season 2 then, aside from
So-
Samuel L. Jackson possibly or Yada coming around?
So my prediction is that we will probably see Camino again, because we don't. If we didn't go back to Dr. Pershing after he got the asset, he didn't go back. We don't know what happened to that character. All I can assume is that he escaped and went back to Camino. If this is accurate with he's a cloner with the Kaminoans, then he would have gone back to Camino, which means that we will probably see Camino in the second season, and then that whole thing will play out.
Do you think the Millennium Falcon will make a guest appearance?
God, I hope
fucking
not. Gotta hope not.
I fucking hope not.
Leave that alone. Like, I think they just need to leave that alone.
Like it just
I'm
flies
gonna-
over.
I'm gonna poke.
Just a quick 1 second flyover.
I'm gonna poke a possible hole, because depending on what canon they establish or refer to, after the Emperor took power and became the Emperor, and after Order 66, he wiped out in much the same way that he did to Mandalore. He wiped out the Camino homeworld, and he killed.
He didn't take things.
He did take things. He took all of their technology on cloning, and then he used it for himself. That's why he started to phase out all of the Django clones and had a more diverse group of people in order to clone. Not only that, but they didn't just clone and then they later phased out cloning. Then they just started kidnapping kids.
Here's what I want
doing like some. Well, that's First Order. That's
So real quick,
Yeah.
I'll show you a photo. So this is the emblem that is worn on Camino.
Okay.
All the clones on Camino have this emblem on their shoulders.
Okay.
So in episode 2, it's the I and the L. So in episode 2, when Obi-Wan is on Camino and Namastu is showing him all of the clones and everything, all the kids are sitting and they're like have like little headsets on and they're like doing like whatever, like testing or whatever the fuck. They have the patch on their arm or whatever, right? So Dr. Pershing is wearing that exact same patch in the episode.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not. It may not necessarily be that he'll go back, because I don't know if the Emperor kept using that planet for his clone operations.
Right.
I think it's more of just like the Empire, because the Empire stole a lot of symbols from the Republic and from the other cultures that they subsumed or wiped out.
Right.
So I feel like it might just be that, like, for the Empire's cloning operation, well, we'll just use the Kaminoan.
Yeah.
But I
Caminoan, yeah. Could be. The other option is that Dr. Pershing himself is a clone as well.
I think he's a cloner. And I think that they were trying to extract...
Because the reason why I kind of want to poke the hole in the whole, like, they're just going to use da-da-da-da-da is because...
I don't think they can clone... I think that was because the Emperor, and this is depending on what canon they use, the Emperor was unsuccessful cloning... Okay, so say, like, you're Force sensitive, right? And the Emperor made a clone of you. Your clone wouldn't be.
Right.
That was always the problem, and this is according to books. So I don't know what they're going to do for the show.
Right.
If that's true, then what he's extracting is stuff in order to try and clone a Force sensitive. Or it might not even be that he's trying to make a clone. It might be that he's trying to extract the, metachlorines or fucking spinal fluid or something, and then you can just, because there's...
Find it and then you can use the Force like...
Yeah.
Yes, because there's drugs in Star Wars universe canon that
Death
can
sticks.
make you-
No, I'm just kidding.
No, not death.
I'm
not
joking.
Death,
I'm joking.
Not death stick.
I'm joking.
There is a drug in Star Wars universe where if you smoke it, you can become telepathic for a short time.
Yeah.
But it's like space math, basically.
It's space math.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
So if he's trying to like make some kind of thing to like in order, because if you're the head of the ISB, which Moff Gideon was, like, what is the end game here?
Right.
Like he has the Darksaber, but
which is crazy.
according to canon, people who aren't force sensitive are 99.9% likely to chop themselves and kill themselves with the lightsaber.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. So it could be one of
Maybe
those
he's
things.
trying to make something
The extraction
that
that you could just inject and become
now
force
he's
sensitive,
force sensitive.
which would be fucking bananas. Now, here's the other part of my theory to it. So that guy, Dr. Pershing, in some shape or form or whatever, is whether it's Kaminoan ties or whatever, is a cloner. You don't just carry that patch around without knowing exactly, what it is that patch represents. Does something with cloning, whatever. We don't know where Yoda's race comes from.
We're about to find out.
Or even what
Cloning.
they're called.
Cloning has
Foundling.
no.
That's what the Smith called it.
No, that's all of their orphans. They call them all foundlings.
Yeah.
Because they weren't born to the Mandalorian culture. They were found as
I'm gonna have to go rewind it. I thought she was
rewind it.
I thought the way
2020 dog.
I'm gonna have to go rewind that. I thought she basically said it like, "Oh, duh! How do you not know what that is?" That's
No.
a foundling.
She's saying it doesn't matter what race he is. He's a foundling. Therefore, he's us. This is the way.
Yeah.
Because if you
I
remember,
love that. This is the way. I just want to use it with everything.
This is the
I do
way,
now.
and
because if you remember,
I have
Din
spoken.
Djarin is not Mandalorian. He wasn't born on Mandalore.
Being a Mandalorian is a creed.
He was one of
Mandalorian is a
the
creed.
fucking numerous planets that the CIS fucking wrecked.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
he became a Mandalorian because
Actually,
it's
you
creed.
know what? Based on the timeline, that battle droid is not
Doesn't make
CIS.
sense. Yeah, I know.
It's just a B2 battle droid.
Yep.
So it's
So okay,
it's
wait a
actually
second.
not.
So how is
Anyways.
the Mandalorian going to know where to take Baby Yoda then?
He's gonna have to find
we're gonna have to find someone who knows, which I would assume is going to be that
Mark
doctor.
Hamill.
It's probably gonna have to be that doctor. They're gonna have to find out some information to where the whereabouts of that person is, whatever. Now, again, we don't know where Yoda's race came from. Blah blah blah. Kamino's been around for a long fucking time, and they've been cloning motherfuckers for a long fucking time.
But it was a planet that had been erased from the archive.
Correct.
Well, okay.
That's the other thing. That planet was erased from the archive.
The Smith
Now-
mentioned Jedis,
Yes.
and assuming that Yada's still alive, maybe the Mandalorian will go find Yada, and then Yada will say, "This is how you get there."
It's possible. It's possible.
Maybe.
Now, what I'm saying is that we've only ever seen like 3 of Yoda's race, pretty much seen.
Basically.
Four. I'm sorry.
4.
But
If you're including
the
games
video game lore,
and,
we can't
books.
include the video games; it doesn't count.
Then
well,
it's
they're canon though.
Then
Some
it
of
would
the
be 3.
like the new video
Yada,
game.
Yoda.
Oh, I'm
And Toy
saying,
Yoda.
I'm saying prior to Toy Yoda.
The new video game,
Including Toy Yoda and everything else, it's 5.
yeah.
Okay.
The new video game, yeah, you have to include video game
Why-
stuff too, because even the new video game is canon.
Because the new video game's canon, but some
And
of
it's
the old
fucking great.
video games, like
So-
the ones we're referencing, happened 6,000 years before the first movie.
You can't
So they
discredit
don't-
the Old Republic
So they don't just disregard it because it doesn't matter. Like the fact, okay, so for instance, according to according to the Star Wars video games, none of the races in the Star Wars universe invented spaceflight.
Right.
They were all slaves to a different race that ruled over the entire galaxy.
Yeah, it's way more confusing than Star Trek.
Yeah.
But that's what
Way
I'm
more
saying. It's
confusing.
6,000 years, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like, originally, the Sith wasn't, a cult or a religion. It was a race.
Yeah.
They came from a planet called Korriban, and they were a race of people. Same thing. Mandalorians used to be a race. They were fucking weird lizard people, and that's why their helmets look like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But now it's been like so many years that, you know,
Anybody could be a fucking
the
Jedi
fact,
or Sith
when
or whatever.
when the fact becomes legend, print the legend.
Yeah, exactly. So I will say that probably a theory is that all of Yoda's race are clones, and they're a source for the clones that have been created on Kamino or wherever. That's just my theory.
I don't think so, because if they're so mysterious, they're not in demand. So they're like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness monster. They're in hiding somewhere.
But clones of what? And how did they
Because of how
I think that the theory that I have is that Yoda and the race his race, they're just a product of cloning. They're a product of cloning.
Well, the Smiths said they are a Jedi force,
People,
right?
Look, at the end,
Or
okay. I
I
don't want to like spoil it, but like
Jedi
I
race.
played the new Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I don't know if you guys are ever gonna play the fucking game or whatever.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
No.
it's fine.
In
I'm
the
not
game,
going to.
they have to get a holocron, and the holocron's contents,
So it's not books on paper?
right? Dude, that was one of the things I said. I was like, oh, look at that. Holocrons have information in them. This one specific holocron
I have no idea what that is.
is the reason why the game is
It's
called.
the fucking Jedi crystal that's got. It's like a Jedi
a crystal, right? You said holocron, like I know. It's a holocron.
It looks like a Tesseract.
Jedi USB that only Jedi can use.
It looks like the Tesseract from.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways,
But
it
sometimes it
holds
comes with, like,
information in it for
off-duty drugs
specific things. But this specific holocron shows the exact place where every Force-sensitive person is in the fucking galaxy. So the Jedi Fallen Order, there's no Jedi Fallen Order. So they were going to get
it's a
this
phone
holocron,
book.
and they were going to go and gather
GPS tracking.
these.
GPS
They were going to
tracking.
gather these Force-sensitive, like younglings, and get them and create the new order, for example. Okay. How are those kids sensitive with the Force, for example? The Force just kind of chooses.
Some people
That's
are just bones.
yeah.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
That's a fact. That's a canon. Some kids are just born Force sensitive. Some people are just born Force. So these specific Yoda, whatever, maybe they're born Force sensitive, but maybe there's just something about how they were cloned or created that makes them even more Force sensitive by injecting whatever the fuck. Maybe that's an option too, because we're saying the injection thing. I don't know. Maybe because the doctor was stating that, yeah, extract what you need and then be done with it. Maybe it's reusable. I don't
Or
know.
Maybe they're like the Wills.
Okay. Could be.
The Wills would be like the Star Wars equivalent of like Q. They seem to be an omniscient and omnipotent race, but unlike Q, they just don't get involved.
But they've never been in any of the other Star Trek films.
They have been in canon TV shows.
Yeah.
In
like Rebels
in,
and
okay.
in the Clone Wars cartoon.
Right, which is canon from what I've
It is
understood.
canon.
it is very
In
canon.
the last
Yeah.
season, Yoda begins when he's meditating to hear Qui-Gon's voice. And up until that point, they believe that, oh, you're dead. You become one with the Force. And there was no way to reach back across that chasm of life and death and communicate. So when Yoda starts telling the other Jedi Masters, like, oh, I've been talking to Qui-Gon, they're like, oh, fucking Yoda's gone senile. We better, like, put him in an old folks' home. And so Yoda goes off on a journey.
He needs to retire from the Force.
Yeah, basically. And he goes off on a journey because Qui-Gon's Jedi ghost is telling him. And, like, even Yoda doubts it. And he meets the Wills on this strange planet that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Because they exist and they don't. They live in this in-between world.
So they live in a void.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they also can interact and not interact with anyone at any time.
Okay.
So then they teach him, like, if you do this, you can reach across that chasm, and then even after you die, you can be the Jedi ghost that we've seen.
Ooh.
So then
Spooky.
So then Yoda learns
Spooky
it, and then he
ghosties.
tells Obi-Wan, like, in in actually the last movie, he tells Obi-Wan like, "Oh, I've heard from an old friend," and he tells Obi-Wan how to train in order to be a Jedi Ghost after he dies.
Are you okay over there?
Yeah, it's not very fun. It's kind of boring, and this is more exciting.
You don't like Star Wars, do you?
I do, but it's just so technical
I love it.
that it's just
I like it
but this
because it's
doesn't
technical.
make sense.
But this isn't
Yes.
technical. This is more of like the kind of mysticism aspect of it.
This is pretty mysticism right here.
Mewtwo's pretty dope.
Mewtwo is pretty cool.
That is a clone.
That is a product of cloning. So I love Star Wars. I like how big that universe is.
Like
There's
franchises.
so much shit. But that's my theory for the
Right.
next direction of Mandalorian. Now, if they do that, I will totally not be angry about them not trying to get information from him, whatever. I don't even know if that's it, but it kind of makes sense.
Like franchises, it's the first season. By season 6, none of this will matter because more of the story will make sense.
Jeez,
by
you really
that
think it's
point.
gonna go that many seasons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
Streaming's the way
let's
to go.
do that.
So by season 2, I think we'll have a little more background on where things are going, and it'll be easier to see
Coming out November.
if we're hooked or
God,
not.
we gotta wait so
you know?
long.
I want to point out one really cool thing, and this is
I want to read the script.
it's a different because the whole the way that they're making the show is so different from the movies because they're actually involving fans in not only the production and story writing, but also the evolution of the story.
How are they involving fans?
Because in the last 2 episodes, they didn't have enough camera-ready stormtrooper outfits.
Oh, you mean they get to be a part of it? Like they're extras.
So they called the local chapter of the 501st. 501st is a fan
How can Disney
group.
not have enough costumes?
Because Disney didn't give a fuck about that show because they don't like Jon Favreau.
yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry.
Dude, Kathleen Kennedy said that nobody liked The Mandalorian.
Kathleen Kennedy doesn't like Jon Favreau. Disney loves him.
Well, okay, if Kathleen Kennedy said that from an executive producer standpoint, it's
She's a
because
dumb bitch.
she was just looking at analytics. She wasn't actually.
She's wrong.
She's a fucking moron, though.
Iron Man.
But what do the analytics say?
That she's wrong.
That she's wrong. Wildly
Fucking
wrong.
moron. She's like, everything she says, Kevin Feige the next day has to course correct. She's like, oh, well, there's no books or comics to draw from. Feige's like, what she meant is that there's no canon. That's all extended universe, and we've done away with that. And then the next fucking a week later, she does another interview. Oh, well, Star Wars as a whole is moving away from trilogies. The next day, Kevin Feige, no, we're going to still keep making trilogies. We want to do big stories. So she's just fucking.
So
She's on
she's
her way.
detached.
She's on her way out.
She's just dumb.
They're shutting her out.
She's just dumb as
doesn't-
rocks.
Let's be real.
She's not even old.
She got her original.
She acts like she's senile.
Her original producing credits
Way to where she
is because she was sleeping with Spielberg.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know
That's
anything
it.
about that.
Her very first producing credits, or her credits for anything, she was an executive producer for Raiders.
Yeah.
She only got that because she was sleeping with Spielberg at the time.
Yeah.
She's not a producer. She's an accountant.
Ricky Bobby says if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah.
So
But
Yeah.
Spielberg's always had that where whoever he's sleeping with gets a role.
I don't know him personally, so I can't really vouch for that.
I'm
you
pretty
know?
sure he's into girls too.
No, it was Kathleen Kennedy, and then who's the annoying blonde chick in Temple of Doom? Same thing. That was his girlfriend at the time.
Oh well,
It's the only way she
you know him. You know him better than me, I guess.
So, in closing, we need to wrap this up because wow, we've really gone over it.
This is going to be an epic podcast.
Picard, looking forward to it. Season 2 of Mandalorian, looking forward to it. New Star Wars, go watch it, and then fucking text me and let me know what you think about it because
I'll
it's not
send you-
good.
I'll send you an
And-
emoji to
and
decipher.
I will say, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Oh my god, easily fucking the greatest Star Wars game I've played, and that's a testament because Star Wars: The Old Republic is fucking amazing. This has been easily the best Star Wars game that I've ever played, and it is canon and it's awesome. So can't wait for the second one because they have to make a second one.
I will
It's
say
awesome.
this:
So
you were very emotional for this podcast.
dude, I'm very passionate about Star Wars. I explained it on the last podcast that it like if you like Star Wars and if you like the new movies and everything, that's fine. Me personally, I ruined the movies for myself because I'm so dedicated to like the fucking books and the games, and I know pretty much everything there is to know about Star Wars, and I know what's canon and I know where things line up, and just like you do with Star Trek and everything, I know this stuff. So when I go and see a movie that's Star Wars and they tell me that you're gonna love it and it's canon and then it's not, people shouldn't be surprised that I get very passionate and upset about it.
Yeah, I wasn't really wanting an explanation, but okay.
And like the same thing with The Mandalorian. It has items in it that can be canonized. I just don't want them to fuck it up.
Yeah. Anything else?
Hey, you don't like Star Wars? That's fine.
I'm just kidding. Somewhat, but okay.
That's just my whole thing. It's, you know, if I'm sure you'd be the same way if Star Trek came out with something and you're like, that doesn't make fucking sense.
But it hasn't happened yet.
That's why I said hypothetically.
Because
I was anticipating Discovery to do that. I was very scared, even with the design of the ship that came out. I'm like, I don't fucking know about this.
In the first fucking episode, they had
They were ruining it.
in the first episode when she's like in that, they put her in the cell.
Yeah.
And then they like activate the emergency fucking I forget the shielding.
The force field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to like keep the pressure.
Uh-huh.
It's like, okay, but in the original series, when the fucking hull got breached, people just got fucking sucked out. That didn't happen. Why does this ship have that? Why does it every ship? It'd be like, oh, well, we put seatbelts in this ship, but not this one. Which they had fucking seatbelts.
And when you see the new Star Wars movie, I'll go into something specific too that in regards of fucking ships.
That was my only criticism.
Doesn't make fucking sense, but anyways.
That was my only criticism, is that their technology doesn't match up with like continuity wise.
Yeah.
That was it.
So
fair enough.
Yeah.
They got seatbelts and JJ.
That's just my whole thing. That's why I get real emotional about Star Wars, because I love Star Wars. I just wish they would quit fucking it up all the time. And The Mandalorian, something that they're doing so well, I just want them to not fuck it up. And if they did the whole Camino thing, if they brought back Mace Windu at this point, I'd be like, all right, tight. How are you going to fix that? But okay, I want to see how you're going to do it. I have total faith in Jon Favreau and in this whole entire series.
Yeah, anyone that spells their name with a U at the end, it's pretty
It's
badass.
an important person.
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to Picard. That looks awesome.
Yeah, they've already signed on for season 2.
I'm all for it.
So it's obviously, they've had to have done test screenings, and it obviously tested well. So, yeah.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. If you want to find any information on the podcast, you can find all of the links to our social media down below. If you want to find me and Stuart, our Twitters will be down below, as well as Andrew's. Andrew, where can people find you?
On Air Andrew. Instagram,
everywhere?
Facebook, Twitter, On Air Andrew. That's it.
Snapchat, TikTok,
On Air Andrew.
TikTok.
I do have a TikTok. I barely use it, but it is On Air Andrew as well.
So On Air Andrew everywhere.
Yeah, social media, On Air Andrew.
Gotcha. And if you want to catch up anything, just go ahead and follow him on those links. I'll put them down below as well.
Yeah, just Google my nudes. They're there too.
Anything specific that you're working on that you want the people to know about?
That was a joke.
Well,
I said Google my nudes, and you just talked over it like that's just normal.
Is there anything that you're working on right now that you want people to know about? Now's your chance.
Yeah, no, there's one thing I don't want to talk about, but another thing that I will talk about is I will be doing a lot more voiceover projects in the new year. So cool. In order to find out what those projects are, you have to follow my social media.
Yep, and those links to the social media will be down in the description below. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can find us on iTunes and Google Play, as well as Spotify and SoundCloud. SoundCloud's our hub, and then it gets distributed out. So if you want to hear the podcast for sure, go to soundcloud.com/likablegeeks, as well on YouTube. If you want to watch the podcast, youtube.com/likablegeeks. See episodes as they air, and we're actually premiering the episodes now so that you can watch them live and interact with the audience in real time, which will also be on there answering questions and engaging with the community. So that's youtube.com/likablegeeks if you want to watch the show. So thank you, everybody, for listening and watching, and we will see you guys all next week. Andrew, thank you again for coming on.
I just, really quick before we leave, inside joke. Hopefully it creates...
No, we're done.
Hopefully
Episode
it creates
over.
something. So, Link's the green guy, right?
Link is the green guy.
Okay. That's it.
All right. Bye, everybody.